Good evening, everyone. We are going to call the City of Deltona City Commission meeting for Monday, October 4th, 2021 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Vilazquez.
Present.
Commissioner King. Here. Commissioner McCool. Here. Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Sosa.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bradford. Here. Mayor Hersberg.
Here. Next, we're going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to Commissioner Avila Vasquez for the invocation, the pledge, and the national anthem. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. Can everybody please stand for the invocation? And today I didn't invite anybody to do our invocation for us. I think that we all need to concentrate and do our praying and ask for what we all need, that we know that we need, and pray for what we need to pray for. So, for a few moments of silence. Thank you. And I would like to ask the gentleman in the audience representing us, Purple Heart, to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today we have the honor of having J.D. Marie present from Pine Ridge High School sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was amazing. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move on to our business meeting. Item 4A is approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of June 7th, 2021 and June 21st, 2021 as presented.
So move.
Properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. May we vote verbally, please? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we're going to go on to the most exciting part of our evening, presentations, awards, and reports. And I'd like to change the agenda just a little bit, if the commission will so indulge me, and begin with the Purple Heart parking signs so that they and the service dog can be comfortable and be on their way. So is that okay? Commissioner Ramos?
Yes. Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, real quickly, I want to say thank you to everyone and to our city manager that when this request came by, there was no second thought about it. Got a call from our Commissioner Stacy Cantu from Daytona Beach in reference. We are a Purple Heart city and was requesting whether or not we can have a parking designation for Purple Heart. The beauty of all this, thanks to Senator Wright, the signs are being provided, and we're getting 3 signs tonight. We're getting one for the city, one for the center, and as well one for our Veterans Museum. So if Senator Wright can come up, our state commander, our Chapter 316 commander, Commodore of the Marine Corps Sam, and Councilman Alexander. and Commissioner Stacy Cantu.
Thank you very much for having us here. It's an honor to be here with these Purple Heart recipients. I'm always a little choked up when I'm around veterans because we owe all of our freedom to all of the veterans and those that are currently serving. Stacy Cantu asked if we could possibly run a bill in the state to require Purple Heart signs in all parking lots throughout the state, and I resisted a little bit, but I said I will at least provide you the signs free of charge. So she's doing a great job of finding places for these signs to go, and I think it's a great honor for our veterans to have, at least here in Deltona, at some of the community buildings. Daytona has already put one up at their city hall there, and I'm sure New Smyrna, they said, is going to be asking, so I'm very happy to provide these signs, and it takes away from my lunch money, so I could use a diet anyway, so what can I say? But anyway, we have signs here for you. This is what the signs look like. Reserve Combat Wounded signs, and these will fit right under the poles that you already have. I'll let you hang on to that. And we've brought you 3 of them. Upright. I had it upside down before. But this is what the signs look like, ladies and gentlemen. And then this one needs to just have the covers ripped off. I was using that to cushion between the other two, so it didn't get scratched. But I think this is a great honor, and I'm glad to hear that the city's going to put these up, and I thank you for making that accommodation, and to the city manager who said yes. And if you need more, you know how to get a hold of me. So thank you very much for doing this. You all want to say anything?
Yeah. Mayor, Commissioner, my name is Ralph Matar. I'm the commander of the Department of Florida Military Order of the Purple Heart. And I have with me, obviously, Stacy, you all know, Alex, some Purple Heart members, and John Haynes, who is the commander of the local chapter. I want to thank you again. For us, it's an honor that you do this. If I had anything else, these signs would be enforceable. But that's something I'm going to take up with Congress next session, okay?
And a special thank you to Victor Ramos.
I'm getting there.
Okay. Take your shirt.
God, take your time. I want to thank the commissioners here, and especially Commissioner Victor Ramos for his initiative in getting this started and having this come to completion. I thank Senator Tom Wright for paying for the signs, and I thank you all for having us here. Thank you.
Mayor,
And Rico just doesn't like meetings. I'm sorry about him.
Senator Wright, can you guys come over here?
Mayor, if I can, in this opportunity, ask Commissioner King to come down so he can hold the sign representing the Veterans Museum. We also have here Joe Hearns, and if he can come forward representing the center, that would be great, so we can take a picture as it relates to where these signs are going to be. We can take a nice group picture. Is that, and all the commissioners, if you want to come down, that'd be great.
Do you want to do it up here? Sure. Underneath the city sign?
Come up here. Sam.
We'll screw it in right there.
Come on up. Don't be so shy.
Take your time. We're squeezing. Sit.
Sit down.
Rika.
Thank you.
There we go.
What are we looking for?
See? Get in place. Be up a little higher, Chris. I know you're short. Our aide Eli, he took a job out in Washington, D.C. He was 6'5", so retired.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, we're going to come back and make sure they're out.
Stacy, thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll figure out where we're going to put it. Thank you.
started getting a call when I was taking pictures. What? Yeah, I got a couple pictures. But you just...
Okay, thank you again for coming out. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Commissioner Cantu, and everyone for coming out for this really, really special dedication. And I just think the signs are amazing, and I'd like to get them for every city building for sure if we can.
Madam Mayor, the senator's on record saying he'll provide them for free.
Okay, then. We'll give them a list. Okay, we'll move on now to the update on the Deltona Community Gardens presented by, is it Troy? Terry's not here. Troy Shimkus. Thank you, Troy, for bringing forth this presentation.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Troy Shimkus, and I represent Deltona Strong, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the community gardens that we have at Van Park. And just want to let you know that we've got the community gardens. They've been they've been there for about 5 years, I think now. Jim and Paula Pesha had started them, and we Deltona Strong took them over about a year or so ago, and we've been working really hard to clean them up and expand on them a little bit to offer some more opportunities for our community. And without the help of neighbors helping neighbors, we would never have gotten as far as we have. So I want to make a special shout out to them. They've been instrumental in providing the labor resources to rebuild the beds and get all the weeds taken care of and kind of get us to a better place to start the year off. And so a little bit about what community gardens do for our communities is we want to be a great resource for our community to be something that families can do together, get families out of the house and involved with each other and doing something outside of communications and outside of electronic work, if you will. Just something new and fresh that students can get involved in as well. So that's one of the big things we're talking about. We want to build a sense of community. We want to provide some outdoor entertainment for our families and something new for the next generation to get involved in that's not an electronic device for once in their lives. I think we see a lot of that, so that's one of our biggest goals is to offer that kind of distraction, if you will. Some of the things that we're looking at doing, we want to make sure that we're going to be there to grow with the community and provide a wide range of opportunities for our community as well, different activities for families, for school groups, things of that nature. And as we move forward, we are looking at offering a lot more programs in the coming year. So some of the things that we're wanting to do are partner with some of our school groups, our scouting groups, some of the church groups even, the Boys and Girls Club, things of that nature, to provide a new venue for them to take advantage of, to bring their programs out there, to have a new opportunity to learn something new and expand upon things like that. And then you see some of these pictures, a big part of what we're going to hopefully do in the next coming year is offer more artistic expression opportunities for our community to showcase not only our local artists, but our local students as well, and offer them an opportunity to provide a space for their work. Some of the things that we're also hoping of doing is adding artwork to areas outside the gardens. We want to make sure that the gardens don't just stay where they're at in that one location, but we've seen some other cities doing some amazing things, and so we're going to be coming to you in the future with some big plans, some ideas. One of the biggest things I see some cities do, which is kind of neat, is that left-hand picture there, is they have artists come out and paint on those big transformer boxes that are just all over the city. So we want to start embracing some of those opportunities to bring some kind of a beautification, something new and fresh to the city, to give us a new identity, if you will, since we're a lot of home people here. We have a lot of homes, not a lot of businesses, so we want to bring some new color and opportunity, again, to showcase our local artists, our students, things of that nature throughout the community. And we're also hoping this year to launch into several new programs, not the least of which are some educational garden-focused programs, of course. We want to offer some opportunities to not only teach you about what gardening is, but how to garden, how to harvest, how to cook, how to do kind of some sustaining living opportunities for our families, to help them, just again, like a new opportunity to do something different. And we have a lot of interest from the community to provide some of those courses, and so we're hoping to use the nice clubhouse out at the Van Park as our first venue for doing that. Other ideas that we've been talking about that I'm excited about as a former band director are concert series in the park. The current gardens, if you know, is at Van Park. It's in the shuffleboard court, so there's a nice solid ground there, and there's enough space there to put a little stage area, and we're hoping to talk to some of the schools in the area and bring our school student groups out to do some concerts out there, and maybe even turn it into a venue like we have used at the library before, at the amphitheater down there. this might be another small venue for some concert series that could kind of bring new life to different areas of the city. One of the other things that we're wanting to do is expand the gardens to other locations in the city. I've spoken to a couple of people in the city about that, and there is some interest. We are dedicated to not pursuing that, though, until we have a core group of people and volunteers that are going to manage and maintain the current gardens before we spread too thin. We want to make sure we get a good foundation set, but we do want to bring the gardens out to other park areas, other city facilities to kind of expand it to the city, because we do recognize that Van Park is a great location, but there are some people that live very far from that, and it's not the most convenient. So we do want to look into that. So anyone listening who might be interested in kind of helping partner with us to set up a new garden somewhere else or manage the gardens, definitely reach out, because that's one of our goals in the next coming years as well. So the gardens at its core is still a place to come and actually do some gardening. So we have a lot of lofty goals for arts and programs and education and music, but we also are at our core, again, a garden. So how you can be involved if you want to come out and garden is you can rent one of our garden beds. They are $20 per season, and we just do 2 6-month seasons in a year. You can come out and garden. You can plant some flowers, some vegetables, anything that you'd like to plant out there, and take advantage of our other current active gardeners for help and support. We are very good at helping each other, helping guide you into what you can plant at what times of year, what would make sense, what's good to harvest, that kind of deal. So there's a lot of interactivity with our gardening staff and our volunteers currently. If you are interested, the best mechanism for getting out to us is emailing us at gardens@deltonastrong.org, which is going to be on the screen in a minute as well. But that's our best method. We are all volunteer staffed, so email is just our easiest way to kind of get to that stuff throughout our workday as well. So some of the biggest needs we have are the 3 big obvious ones, right? Obviously money. Everyone needs money. We've been rebuilding our beds, and so there are certain things that cost money, but we also need people. Like I said, neighbors helping neighbors has been instrumental in getting us that physical labor to get out there, build new beds, clean out the beds that are there, do some weeding, get all that kind of stuff moving. And we want to make sure that that's something that we can continue. So that's probably, if I were going to say anything, is our number one need is people. And we are a nonprofit, a certified nonprofit, so we can provide community service hours, which we have been doing, and we've been working with some of the schools and other groups to give the students opportunities to earn the hours they need for graduation or for any other need they have there. So that's something that we can work with, but that's, like I said, our biggest need is definitely that labor force, if you will. Here's just a few of the ideas that we've got, or some of the stuff we've been doing that costs money. That's the cement blocks and cinder blocks are the biggest thing, because we have been rebuilding all the wooden beds into these cement block beds so that they last longer, and we can use them for a much longer period. We've also been working, as we need new beds, we have to fill them with soil, so that's another big cost that we have as an ongoing cost. So these are just a few of the things that are more ongoing costs, if you will. We always need seeds and plants to kind of get things started throughout the year as well. So these are the things that we're most looking for in terms of physical goods donations. Also, bird baths and artistic installations. We have a lot of wind chimes, which when you go out there, it's really nice to just sit and be there and listen to the wind chimes and kind of involve yourself in that kind of environment. So we're looking for those kinds of activities as well. And so like bird baths and wind chimes and things to kind of add some ambiance, if you will, to the garden area. So as I mentioned, our biggest need, in my estimation, is still people, and we're looking for many different things. We need just committee members who want to help guide us, help kind of give us some more ideas and figure out how we're going to accomplish the ideas we have. We're also looking for coordinators that are the people that are out there on the ground working with the new gardeners, getting them set up, making sure they know where the water is and how to get into the gates and all that kind of stuff. Volunteers for our special events and projects, getting out there to do the hard work of weeding on a regular basis, our compost pile maintenance, things of that nature, the grunt work, if you will. We do offer, we want to have some fundraisers, so we need people to help us organize and coordinate fundraiser activities as well as grant writing. So anyone who has got a skill set in grant writing, I know you're in high demand always, but we would be very grateful for any work in that area. And then artists and musicians. As I mentioned, we want to bring those programs into the gardens and kind of make the gardens more of a destination for even non-gardeners. So we're going to be reaching out to school groups and things of that nature to bring in the artists, bring in the musicians, give them opportunity to perform and showcase their work as well. So that's, if you have any other ideas of other groups in the area, that would be something that would be interested in that. We would love to get connected with them as well. Some of our future projects that we're looking at doing, we're looking at extending the butterfly gardens. There is an area outside of the actual garden bed area that is a nice butterfly garden, and so we want to expand that. We want to do some replacement of some of the clubhouse amenities, replacement of all the water pipes and things of that nature, which is more fundamental and framework work. We have the compost stuff we have to kind of work through. There's a big compost bin there that we need to rebuild and kind of refresh on a regular basis. And then there's just the maintenance and cleanup crew. That's what I was talking about with the most need we need is volunteers to do that regular maintenance, right? To get out there, weed all the concrete areas and things of that nature. Other ideas that we've been talking about are introducing a hydroponic gardening section so that we can kind of expand into that area. Again, more related to the educational aspect. And something that was been brought up is also robotic gardening so that we can get involved with STEM programs at schools. There's some really neat garden robots that run around and do weeding and that do planting. It's really kind of some cool stuff out there. So we want to explore that opportunity with our schools in the area to do that and get that STEM, people involved with that, because we see so many kids sitting at computers all day for that stuff, but this is a great opportunity to bring that computer knowledge out into the real world where it's being used every day. If you look at the big farms, they're all using computerized robotic work, so that'd be something that we want to get into as well. On October 16th, we have our big kind of reopening, if you will, planned, and each of you in front of you should have one of these little invitations. This invitation is actually filled with seeds from our garden. Our gardeners harvested our own seeds to provide you with a little opportunity to throw some, you either got sunflowers or zinnia seeds, one of those two, and you can throw those out into your yard and get them planted, and those are locally grown from our own garden, and our gardeners harvested them for you. So October 16th at Van Park, we're going to start at 10 o'clock for some plant sales, and then at 11 o'clock we're going to do some more events. We're going to reintroduce the gardens to the community, kind of turn it back into the event site that we want to kind of see and showcase. We're going to have some presentations there. We're going to have some little events for the kids and family fun as well. So October 16th again, if you have, invite anyone you want, and anyone in the audience today, these are out in the back as well, so feel free to grab one. We'd like to have as many people as possible come out there. And then here's our contact information. And I would be remiss to say that on this event date, you may have heard that there's been a new mural painted at the gardens. It's absolutely beautiful. One of our local artists, Anna Coleman, has painted that for us, and it is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And you should be there on the 16th to kind of our unofficial unveiling of this new mural. It just really brings the area together. So I want to make sure that was been notified as well. And so here's, again, our information. Again, gardens@deltonastrong.org is the best mechanism to reach us, just because, like I said, we're all volunteers, so email just helps us keep communications asynchronous. But we do have a phone number, 386-516-9290. You can call, leave a message, and someone will get back to you as soon as we have a volunteer available. And with that, I will leave that up for a few minutes. Oops. And entertain any questions if you have it, or any comments or suggestions that you have at this point.
Commissioner Vilazquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Troy, I think you guys did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
From what I'm seeing, I haven't been there since the last baseball game, but I think from what I saw in your presentation, it's beautiful. And I'm glad to see that you are also going to keep working on the butterfly garden.
Yep.
That's the first project that was initiated in that area. And I would like you to reach out to Deltona Middle School, as they were one of the first schools that partner with the city of Deltona on the butterfly garden project. As a matter of fact, it probably is not there now since the school is being rebuilt, but they have a special classes for children, and those kids were the ones who built and planted their butterfly garden in the school. They were the ones who helped erect the butterfly sign. And I think they have a stamp program. I'm not sure, but you can check with them for what you were talking about. But I would love for you to reach out to them and bring them back in with you with this garden. I'm pretty sure, along with the butterfly garden, that they'll be more than happy to be part of the garden.
Yeah, I remember that they were doing that. And so if you have a name, I don't remember the woman's name who was in charge of that program, but if you have that name handy.
I don't know if she's still there, but I could get you a name.
Okay, yeah, I'll appreciate that, because we'd like to get them back out there now that we've kind of revitalized it a little bit more.
Yes,
sure.
they were awesome.
Yeah.
They came to the garden, they visit, and they loved the whole thing. So I'm pretty sure they'll be more than happy to be part of it again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Oh,
Great.
thank you,
guys.
Troy. Thank you very much for that update. So good to be able to get back outside, and weather's getting cooler. Now's the time to try to at least be out there a bit. Okay, our next item is presentation of quarterly reports of the city advisory boards and committees. We have the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, Deltona Economic Advisory Committee, Firefighters Pension Plan Board, and Planning and Zoning Board, and Team Volusia. They're all written reports. Commissioners, they're in your packet, and they're available online. We already went ahead and did the Purple Heart sign, so that brings us to item D, Proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th to October 15th. Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I was asked to do the proclamation, I was thinking, well, who can we definitely identify here in our community? And I thought it was important for sometimes for us to recognize our own heroes here in our community. So I reached out to Dr. Cristina Raimundo, who was a principal here in Friendship Elementary. Has always been involved with the Williams Scholarship Funds as well, and she is currently the Director of Elementary Curriculum and Instruction. So I would ask if she can come up here so she can receive the proclamation. Hey, come on. So it says, whereas Hispanic Heritage Month reflects on the history of people who were part of this land long before the birth of the United States, and whereas Hispanics were among the earliest European settlers in the New World, and Hispanics as people, like their many cultures, share a rich history and great diversity. And whereas Hispanics have had the profound and positive influence on our country through their strong commitment to family, faith, hard work, and service, they have enhanced and shaped our national character with centuries-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their community. There are doctors and lawyers, activists and educators, entrepreneurs and public servants, and brave service members who defend way of life at home and abroad. And whereas the city of Deltona is asked to join in the celebration of National Hispanic Heritage Month, now therefore we, the mayor, and the commissioners of the city of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 15 through October 15, 2021 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and call upon all public officials, educators, librarians, and residents of Deltona to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs under this year's theme, Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope. Executed this 4th day of October 2021, signed by our mayor, Heidi Herzberg. Thank you. Would you like to say something?
I guess I just want to say that, well, I can't talk with my back to you, so that's rude. So, first of all, Mayor and Commissioners, as a proud Hispanic American, I am honored to accept this proclamation in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. It makes me very proud that the city of Volusia, where I am proud to call home, recognizes the many contributions of our Hispanic culture and community. And in the name and the words of this gentleman behind me, Commissioner Ramos, pa'lante y muchas gracias. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda for a proclamation, Fire Prevention Week, October 3rd through the 9th, 2021. Commissioner McCool? Get the hat.
I'm excited right now.
We do.
I'm not privy to any tilt of the hat, so I'm just getting it straight on here. Y'all come on up.
Joe, you get a, thank you.
First of all, I'm tickled pink to be able to do this. I want to thank y'all for bringing the truck up. It is double meaningful for me, so thank you for everything that you do as far as that goes, first of all. proclamation reads, whereas the city of Deltona, Florida is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Deltona, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires killed more than 2,770 people in the United States in 2019, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 339,500 home fires. And whereas when the smoke alarm sounds, Deltona residents may have less than 2 minutes to escape to safety, and whereas Deltona residents should make a home escape plan, drawing a map of each level of the home, showing all doors and windows, and make sure everyone in the home knows how to call 911 from a cell phone or a neighbor's phone. And whereas Deltona residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. Residents should practice this escape plan with everyone in the household using different ways out at least twice a year during the day and at night. Whereas Deltona residents should teach children to escape on their own in case adults can't help them. In a real emergency, residents should get low and go under the smoke to get out quickly. Stay out and never go back inside the home for people, pets, or belongings. And whereas the 2021 Fire Prevention Week theme, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety, efficiently served to remind us it is important to learn the different sounds of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of October 3 through 9, 2021 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this city. We urge all the people of Deltona to learn the sounds of fire safety for Fire Prevention Week 2021 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Deltona's fire and emergency services, executed this 4th day of October 2021. Thank you all very much, Chief.
They want everybody in. Yes.
If you don't mind indulging me just for a second, I just would like to reiterate 3 things about this proclamation. 66% of the people that die in house fires die because they did not have a working smoke detector. So of that 2,700 people that died last year, 1,800 of them did not have a working smoke detector in their house, if statistics hold. So please, 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 best life insurance policy you can have, because when that one pays off, you're still around. Second thing is that please have an escape plan. This said less than 2 minutes to get out for a fire nowadays. Fires burn hotter and faster than they ever have. So please, especially if you have kids in your home, please practice 2 ways to get out of your house every, at least once a year, okay, so that they understand how to get out. And third, the newest thing out there that we found is please sleep with your doors closed. The door will stop smoke from getting into your rooms, okay? And smoke is the biggest killer of fire in a house fire. You die much quicker from smoke than you do anything else. That door will help protect you from smoke, and it will help protect you from fire getting into your rooms. So if I can reiterate anything to everybody, please remember those 3 things, and please go out there and be safe. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Chief. Okay, next up we have Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing allowing me to do this. This is a near and dear subject to my heart, as I'm a breast cancer survivor. And 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 HER2 positive breast cancer, which is a very aggressive cancer, and was able to fight with my family and friends, and we warriored our way through this. And I just want to give hope for all women out there that are currently battling breast cancer, those that will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and encourage each and every one of you to take your mammogram seriously, because it is a life or death thing. It can be treated when caught in time, so it's not a death sentence. It was a wake-up call for me, and I am a lucky survivor. So, whereas breast cancer is one of the most frequently diagnosed cancers and leading causes of cancer death among women worldwide, and whereas the American Cancer Society estimates that there were 281,550 breast cancer cases in the United States in 2021, whereas 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, whereas mammograms, regular self-exams, and clinical breast exams are also vital because they can help doctors diagnose cancer before it has a chance to spread. When breast cancer is detected early, treatment is more effective, giving hope to patients and helping save lives. And whereas mammograms are the most effective tool in the fight against breast cancer and have saved hundreds of thousands of lives in the last 30 years, and whereas since 1989, more than 500,000 breast cancer deaths have been prevented in the United States due to regularly scheduled mammograms, according to the American Cancer Society estimates. And whereas we reaffirm our commitment to support breast cancer research and to educate all citizens about its risk factors, detection, and treatment, now therefore, we, the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, in recognition of the importance of the ongoing fight against breast cancer, do hereby proclaim October to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month, executed this 4th day of October 2021. Fight on, my sweet warriors, fight on.
Thank you. Commissioner McCool, I would just like
I'm
to...
sorry, Madam. Is there a schedule with the truck, the pink truck, for the, is there something?
If you would like it to come out, you can call us up and we can schedule it. But,
Okay.
you know, we don't have like a current schedule.
Check.
As we gather for the picture, I just wanted to mention also that today it came out in the news that our First Lady of Florida, Casey DeSantis, has been diagnosed with breast cancer. And as a young woman, we all need to hold her in our thoughts and prayers for the best possible outcome for the First Lady of Florida. And the other thing I'd just like to say is age is not a factor for getting mammograms. People think that once you hit an older age, 70, 75, 80, you don't have to get that anymore. But that's not true, because my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer at 91 years old because she got her mammograms yearly and was able to have a lumpectomy and is still alive 5 years later because of that. So don't ever not get your mammograms.
That goes for men as well, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, everyone, and we'll move on to the next proclamation, Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Commissioner Vilazquez.
For this proclamation, I'm going to have Robert, our IT expert, be up here with me. And I want to tell you that I took that test, and man, was it a little bit difficult. But I'm glad to say that I did pass it, and I'm glad to see it out there. It was something that we needed. And having said that, whereas the city of Deltona, Florida recognizes that it has an important role in identifying and protecting its staff and citizens from the responding to cyber threats that could have a significant impact to our individual and collective security and privacy. And whereas cybersecurity education and awareness is crucial for everyone, including large corporations, small businesses, financial institutions, schools, government agency, the home user, and anyone who connects to the internet with a computer, mobile phone, or other internet-connected services. And whereas the theme for Cybersecurity Awareness Month 2021 is Do Your Part. Do your part, be cyber smart. This theme empowers individuals and organizations to own their role in protecting their part of cyberspace. And whereas in these tech-fueled times, our homes, society well-being, economic prosperity, and nation security are impacted by the internet. And whereas if everyone does their part, implementing stronger security practices, raising community awareness, educating vulnerable audiences, our interconnected world will be safer and more resilient for everyone. And whereas maintaining the security of cyberspace is a shared responsibility in which each of us has a critical role to play. And whereas an awareness of computer security essentials will improve the security of the city of Deltona, Florida information, infrastructure, and economy. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city commission of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of October 21 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month, executed this 4th day of October 2021. Thank you so much for all the work you and your staff has done to secure the city and its staff. Thank you. No. Sure.
Okay, last on the items of presentations. Today we have the City of Deltona Fire Department's overview of the proposed Deltona Fire Training Ground and Emergency Operations Center. Chief Snyder and Deputy Chief Swisher, you two are up. This is very exciting.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. The City Manager asked us to give you a brief overview of some of the things we're looking at for an emergency operations center and a training center. Chief Swisher is kind of in charge of this project, so he's put together a presentation for you. So we're just going to turn it over to him. It is still in the planning stages, so you know, we're kind of looking at different ways to partner with different people, and this is kind of an overview of that planning process, basically, in the infant stages.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Good.
Good, me too. This is a perfect PowerPoint because we kind of talked about fire prevention. This is how we prepare for fire prevention as firefighters. We have to have somewhere to train. So this is huge for us. We've been working on this for a lot of years. I've been here a lot of years, and we've been trying to get through all the different administrations, so this is big for me. So why our own training grounds is needed? Well, quality and quantity of training. What does that mean? Well, the county training facility we currently have is in Daytona Beach. Anybody drove I-4 lately? We have to drive our fire engines when they're on duty to the county to go do that training. Not only does it take about 45 minutes each way to get there, but then we train for 3 to 4 hours and then drive back another 45 minutes. If we have a structure fire in Deltona or some sort of big accident or whatever that we need more trucks than we have, those trucks are gone. They're not coming back in time to help us. So quality and quantity of training means that we can do it internally here on our own property, close to home, keeping those units still readily available if we need them for a response in the city. Partnerships. So what do I mean about partnerships? We don't want to build a training facility just for us. We want to build a training facility for everybody, citywide. We want Duke Energy. We want FP&L. We want the Sheriff's Department. We want Parks and Rec. We want Stormwater. We want everybody to be involved in this training facility, and we want to make a committee somewhere along the line to make sure that we get those kind of things in that training facility, things that will help them do what they do best. ISO and accreditation. ISO is how we get cheaper insurance rates for our homes. We'd like to decrease that. In order to decrease that, we have to have a certain amount of hours of what they call facility training. Facility training has to be on 2 acres, it has to be fenced in, and it has to be limited from the public. It has to have certain structures on that site, towers, burn buildings, and other structures such as that. The only place we can get that is Daytona. We have to put 17 hours in each member. We have 78 members plus to get trained every year of 17 hours of facility training. Impossible. We can't do it. So we always suffer a little bit in ISO points because of that. It's a little bit of the score, but it adds up as we go down the line. Accreditation, that's something, if you need to ask anything, Chief Snyder's really been working hard on trying to do that. He's really kind of the expert on that. But this will help us do accreditation plus ISO on top of it. Improve individual and team skills. We train and play as we do, right? You go out to a fire, if you don't know what you're doing when you're doing at a real fire or a real motor vehicle accident, that's not really the time to train. Time to train is when we can control the environment as much as we can, control what's going on, and give them practical expertise as we go along. Not after the call and go, man, you really messed that up. That's not the time to do that. Time to do that is at training. We can do this if we have a training facility that's in our town. Multidiscipline training EOC facility for our entire city with a regional concept. The regional concept part of that is so that we can bring in Orange City Fire Department, DeLand Fire Department, Volusia County Fire Department, and train with them. We don't do big scenes by ourselves. We do it with our outside fire department partners. In order to be good at what we do, we have to train with them also. Same thing holds true for them, though. In order to train with them, we either have to make something up in the city, which is getting harder to do because we can't find open sites to do anything anymore, or go to Daytona and train. Almost impossible to do on a regular basis. So what are we going to do? So we needed to acquire about 18 plus buildable acres. And the reason why I say buildable, we probably need a little bit more for buffer, but as long as we have 18 plus buildable acres, we can probably do everything that we want to do, plus all the other things, regional concept and other departments that I talked about. Establish a committee, and that committee won't be just the fire department, it'll be all these other departments I talked about. Gain and build partnerships in private and public. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. Develop a site plan, begin the construction, continue to build out and maintain property that's already established. What I mean by that, as we build it, we continue to build other things that we decide we need on there or that we've already got in the plan as we go along, but we have to maintain it too. So we have to figure out how we do that. We don't want to build something and then it fall apart a few years later. Consider staff and accessory structures with growth of this facility. So as we maintain it, we're going to need things to maintain it, such as tractors and forklifts and things like that as we get into these bigger facilities and bigger things that we do with pallets and everything. So we need a place to store all those as we start getting those. So those kind of things are the little things that we'd have to build as we went along. Multi-use areas within the complex. The training ground will have multi-use areas to make the facility as productive as possible. What do I mean? Well, we're going to separate some of the buildings that normally might be together. We're going to plan it so that there can be multi-exercises going at the same time, so we can have somebody in a burn building. We can have another department over in the tower building. We can have another department or another city department training over on another site. We can be doing CDL and all those kind of things on that site. So multi-use, multi-discipline. Again, the regional concept I already talked about. Building EOC, that was a big thing both with the fire chief and with the city manager. They want to make sure, because this is our current EOC that we use now. If any of y'all have ever been involved in the EOC, we are lacking in the EOC department. And in order to upgrade this to having showers at work and having bathrooms, because you don't just stay here for a few hours. On a big one, you stay here possibly days to weeks to even a month if you had to, depending if we got hit really hard, which luckily we have not gotten hit that hard yet. So in order to upgrade this facility up to that thing, we're already building another building or somewhere near in that neighborhood. Multi-use building, meeting room usage. The city always needs room for things besides the center in this room here, so we could use that. And not only can we use it for multi-room, but we're going to design it with all the computer enhancements and all that modern stuff with Robert's help. Right, Robert? All right. So we're going to build that out so that we can have sim rooms, both for EMS, both for LEO to do their simulations, for fire simulations. All those kind of things will be incorporated into this build out as we build it. We're thinking a 3-story building. However, this is just a concept. We would have to, get with the builders and the contractors and figure out if that's what we want to build. The nice thing about going vertical is you save space on the property rather than building out a whole bunch of buildings. If you go vertical, that helps. But in that 3-story building, our concept would be the modern training environments, the sleeping quarters, kitchen, and adequate bathrooms and showers, which, by the way, right here, anybody know how many showers we have when we're all here? Anybody? 1. Joyce? 1. Does it work very well? Okay. What do we do structure fire training? Well, we're going to have a 2-story structure, similar to that, not necessarily that one, but a 2-story structure is what we're looking at that'll have multiple burn rooms. It'll provide that heat environment, but we'll be able to control that heat. We'll be able to control through thermal imagers, heat detectors, how big we make the fire inside, all that kind of stuff is how we control ventilation. And we'll provide limited visibility. Now, we'll also provide that limited visibility whether it's on fire or not. We'll have smoke machines that are in that building so we can also smoke it out without having that heat. Cargo containers for flashover training, and everything will be changeable. The biggest complaint you get from these kind of facilities is that it's always the same. So nowadays they have modern structures where you can actually move the interior walls like a maze, and you can change the whole concept. So when they come in and they think they know where they're going, they run into a wall. So those are the kind of concepts that we're talking about for this building. Multi-story training. Now, the last building I talked about, when we light stuff on fire, what does that create? Bad stuff, right? All the gases, all that stuff. Well, that also gets on the walls. All that carbon buildup gets on everything. So it's a dirty structure. We want to make sure that the tower is a separate structure so we can do a whole lot of other training that's in what we call a clean environment. Cancer is one of the leading causes of firefighter death nowadays. After you get off the job, you die of cancer, right? Great retirement. Too bad you didn't get it. You died of cancer. So we're trying to look for these kind of clean environments. All those kind of trainings are things that we can do for that tower training. Outdoor burn props, propane tanks, motor vehicle fires, pools of gas fire. Teach our new guys especially how to do all that stuff. They come out of fire school with very little training. Very little training, they're rushed through, and they actually are prepared just to take a state test. So very little practical experience. Motor vehicle extrication, great process here. Motor vehicle accidents, we have different ones designed every day, except for right now because you can't get a chip for one, right? But normally you have all these different motor vehicles coming out. You have Teslas, you have all the new electric cars coming out. Those are hugely different from the techniques that we use now. The plastic doors, the plastic skins, they don't act the same way when we use the cutting tools or what you guys call the jaws of life. All that stuff's different. So we can train on that, do our team concepts. We can flip the cars upside down. We can make all sorts of different evolutions that are controlled. CDL course. Everybody in the city needs this. All the departments that drive big trucks require CDLs. This course that we would have laid out so they can use it for their CDL courses. For us, what we can use it for is we have to do our hose, not only hose training, but we also have to test the hoses annually. In order to do that, we got to lay 300 feet of all of our hose out down this road. Well, that's where we normally do it at. Anybody know a vacant road in Deltona lately? There isn't one. Okay, we used to use, the last one we've been using is Martin Luther, where the center is. Well, if you've seen that lately, that's not usable by us anymore because there's more traffic going down that. And when that cardiac center gets built, we're definitely not going to be able to train there or do anything there. The last place we've got in the city right now is the Winn-Dixie at Cortland and Doyle, who the owner of that building is kindly letting us use that all the time. But as soon as that building's sold or he decides he doesn't want to do that anymore, we're out. We don't have anywhere else to go. The other thing is, with that facility, all this stuff just came up this year and the previous year before that. What can we use all that open site for? Putting trees and stuff and debris from hurricane damage or storm damages can go there. Right now, for those of you who've been around a while during a storm, we pay for that property. This would already be paid. They can put that there temporarily until they can get rid of it, however they decide to get rid of it. Point of distribution, anybody who's not familiar with point of distribution, that's where supplies would be set up, cars would come through, you give them food, you give them water, all that stuff. Serves as a point of distribution that the city can advertise, it will always be there. And then vaccination areas, of course, and immunizations would be available at these sites. Underground and above ground confined spaces, some of the training we'd like to bring there that's kind of above and beyond what you normally see at a normal training center. Confined space, very, very dangerous, special training that's involved in this. We'd like to control it as much as we can. That stormwater stuff would be part of the facility. It would actually be live, but we would be in control of how many exits there are when we build it out. So in case one of our firefighters got in trouble in training, we could take care of that. Trench rescue. Can't dig a trench everywhere nowadays either, but you see them everywhere, right? When they're doing the construction right along the side of the road. How many of y'all see the little helmets walking alongside of the road? And that's all you see because they're 4 or 5 feet down in the trench. They're supposed to have trench boxes, by the way, but none of them put them out. That's why we become involved, because we have to go in and dig them out when they get buried. This is a concrete structure that allows us to train with trench rescue over and over in the same site. The biggest thing about trench is learning how to build the stuff that you have to do, not actually the digging. Cell phone and tower train. This is one of the big partnerships we'd like to bring in. There's a lot of cell phone towers in this area. We have 0 training on cell phone towers. If we have to rescue one of the rescuers up there, we have 5 or 6 people maybe that are actually certified to do cell phone tower rescue, and they've had to go somewhere else to go get that training, and they definitely don't have annual training on it. We'd have to send them all to another class to do that again. I'd like to bring in cell phone towers that are live on site. So not only, I think it's called the NAS program, right, Mr. O'Grady? The NAS program, where we're actually getting all those new water meters. We could put a tower up to help read those water meters and open doors and all those kind of things electronically through the cell phone tower. But in the build out of the cell phone tower, we would build our safeties in. High-rise, so anybody remember when Halifax went up and that crane went up? Guess how we would have rescued that person? We didn't know at first either because we had to go talk to him, but that guy was 300 feet up in the air, and if he ever had a heart attack or an injury up there, we were the ones responsible for getting him down. So we had to figure that out, but high-rise is what that would be about. Some of the ideas that we talked about, community parks around this facility so that there'd be a running course that the commissioners and Park and Recreation design so the community go out there and see what's out there and run around these parks outside the fence line, obviously. Community rope confidence course, this is huge. Remember that building I talked about that has bedrooms and shower facilities? You could actually bring people in as a future income and actually hold rope courses for them and provide them a weekend of fun right here in the city of Deltona, and confidence building. Potential law enforcement training, we've talked to them a little bit about it. They really are short of some training on the west side of the county. They always have to go to the east side of the county just like we do. So it would be nice for them to be able to send their deputies. So if we can design stuff into that training facility for them, we would prefer to do that. Plus, we want to go use a gun range. No, I'm just kidding. They probably wouldn't let us in there. Helping other departments like I talked about, water departments, public works, stormwater, code enforcement, parks and rec, all those kind of things can be trained on. Summary, community, the benefits. Well, the big benefit is training. They get a department that's highly trained. They get mutual aid departments that are highly trained with us. They get parks and recreation. They get water department. They get sewer department. All of them who have the ability to be trained where they can't in other cities like we could do it here. So that's what we got. And with that, any questions?
Commissioner McCool.
Except for her. No, I just can't go ahead.
Thank you very much. That's a great presentation. Thank you. I wanted to find out that, if I'm not mistaken, the training center, how old is the one in Daytona? It's relatively old, isn't it?
It is. They do try to upgrade as they go, but their burn building, I'll give you an example. When we go out to the burn building, because of the age and plus they try to conserve it, we're not even allowed to ladder the burn building, which is crazy because that's what we would want to do in a burn building. So that's some of the things because of the age of the building. They don't want it to deteriorate any more than it is.
And the other closest one is in Marion County, right?
No, Seminole County has one. It's about the same distance at the college. It's about the same distance as Daytona. We've been there too before, but it takes about 45 minutes both ways to get there.
But our biggest thing is the potential revenue stream, right? Because, I mean, most of what I saw this, we can mutually share, and it's a good revenue stream for us.
It could be. be, yes.
Yeah,
The
okay.
biggest thing for me is the training and safety, not the revenues, but yes, that's a secondary effect.
And do you have a site in mind? I mean, how much acreage? I'm sorry, you skimmed over it. How much acreage are we talking about here?
18-plus acres.
18-plus acres.
So the city manager and Mr. O'Grady have been looking at properties. I guess there's some property available out next to the water plant out in Osteen that they're looking at. I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not. You'd have to confer with the city manager on that.
I've been out there. It's a good property.
Yeah.
It is. Last question, big question. What's the price tag?
Again, you'd have to confer with the city manager on that. The city manager's one, we don't know. We won't know until we sit down and look at it, but the city manager does have a whole financial plan worked out for it. I don't know if the chief wants to talk about that at all, but.
Well, and again, it's still in the planning stages, so we don't know exactly what we're looking at, and we haven't priced out that type of stuff, so we need to get with architects and all that kind of stuff to get a conceptual plan together. And then, then we can start looking at price tags for it.
From what I understand, there is other municipality interest in, like, sharing. I mean, I don't mean so much as sharing, but participating
The
in the
regional
revenue stream.
concept.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
And just to add to that, don't forget, we're not sure, because again, we haven't addressed it and built it out yet, but we're pretty sure the colleges would want to have something to do with it too, because all their stuff is also on the east side.
Quick question, the facility on Day Road that you have right now, that would go?
That's actually city property. We kind of inherited it a little bit. We kind of forced our way in there. We do a lot of motor vehicle extrication practice out there, and we have some Connex boxes out there, but it's less than 3 acres and not very user-friendly for us, so we'd probably kind of donate it back to the city.
Okay. That would take care of it. We wouldn't have to use that portion of that property all anymore.
We haven't talked about it too much, but that's probably what would happen to it.
Okay. Commissioner King?
I understand the safety part of it.
Yes, sir.
Tell us how much we're spending for training now when we go to other facilities around the county or state.
Yes, sir. So the county charges us depending on what building we use. If we use the burn building, I think it's $700 a day, Chief DeBose? $500 for the burn building. And that's on top of what we've already paid for that building. So our grants and everything all help build that site. But we pay $500 every time we use a burn building. The tower building, I believe, is, I think the last time that they just raised the price on that, I think it's 70? $75 for the tower. So, but the big cost comes from sending our people over there. That's where the big cost for us comes.
So how much do we spend in a year in training alone, including
our total training budget?
Total training for sending people over there, equipment, rental of the space.
Yeah, our total training budget, it's kind of a little, I got to go back a couple years because we're doing, using transport money and that kind of stuff, so it's a little coming out of 2 different funds now. But we were spending about $80,000 a year in different types of training, sending people to different types of schools, going over to the east side of the county to do this live training and stuff like that. We tend to try to do that. We try to do that at least 3 to 4 times a year, 3 days at a time. And then like our special operations group. So there's 5 different disciplines with our special operations group. 3 of those 5 different disciplines have 2 different courses that they have to take. So, we have to send people out for that type of stuff. Our fire officer classes, to become promoted, to become a lieutenant in the fire department, you have to take certain fire officer classes and then go take a state test before you can get promoted. So there's 4 or 5 classes for that we have to send people to. Same thing with inspectors. There's recertification training that we have to do to recertify our people every 2 years with paramedic, EMT, and CPR and all the stuff that goes along with that. But a budget is right around $75,000 to $80,000 per year, as it was before all the transport stuff started happening.
Okay, so with this facility, we would save a bit of that money.
Yes.
And if we invite other cities to participate here, they're spending as much as we are, a little less?
Well, they're a little smaller departments, so they're spending less than that. But yes, they're still spending that kind of money. So, like, if we go to the facility in Daytona, sometimes we'll send 3 or 4 departments at a time, and so we'll all split the cost with that. Sometimes we'll both bring in training, maybe bring in a class in-house training, so we'll invite Orange City to land in, and then Orange City will have a class and they'll invite us in. So we try to work really good with our partners because, like Chief Swisher said, on those big calls, we're all going to be together. So.
What about the instructors that are going to be teaching here? Are those all our people?
For the most part.
Are our people?
Yes, yeah, we've got people right now that can teach all of the special operations classes, or a majority of them anyway. We've got instructors that can teach all of our fire officer classes and that type of stuff. All of our engineer classes. To become an engineer to drive one of the trucks and pump the truck on scene, there's 3 classes that you have to take, 3 40-hour classes. We've done those in-house now for about, probably going back 3 or 4 or 5 years now. We've been doing that in-house. But like Chief Swisher says, the places to do the practical portions of those are shrinking. The classroom part of it, we find places to do that, but the practical portion of it is what's really starting to shrink around here, and we're really having a hard time trying to find. So, to become an engine, to be promoted from firefighter to engineer, there's a certain amount of classes you have to take. You have to get a state test, get state certified, and then you can test for that engineer position. Same thing for lieutenant. You have to take a certain amount of classes, 4 or 5 of them, go get state certified, and then come back and do that. For our battalions, they have to have bachelor's degrees before they can get promoted. Now, I don't know that we'd be doing any math and English classes here, so, but the practical fire tactics type stuff we could all do in-house, and we have a number of instructors now that can do a majority of those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. A great presentation, and we look forward. Oh, Commissioner Vilazquez. Commissioner King, can you undo your button? Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have thank you, Mayor, also. Question, going back to Commissioner King's question, about the budget for the training. And if you build this training center, you'll be saving on your training budget. Am I correct? But you'll also be making some kind of profit on top of it because other cities, local cities will come into.
Yeah, it's going to take time before we start really seeing a revenue stream come in for this type of stuff. I mean, we've got to get it off the ground. We've got to get it going. We'd be starting off with local type training and that type of stuff. Like I said, the county charges us now, so we would probably have that same, charge to the other local departments, or have some kind of mutual aid agreement where, we're getting some in-kind service from them or something along those lines. To be able to do that. But as it builds out and as we go down the road, we would want to try to build this into where we have a revenue stream. Is we put on that fire officer group of classes, those 4 or 5 classes you need to be promoted to lieutenant, and it's called a Fire Officer 1 certification. So we could do all those classes in-house. We could put out a flyer to all the local fire departments, even going into Seminole County, Lake Mary, those areas right there, and we could draw all those people in, charge them for the class, and teach that class. Now, when I talk about a revenue stream, I just want to make sure everybody understands that as this develops, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and we can able to start really putting that together and start bringing in that kind of the revenue stream, it's really going to pay for running the facility. That's what it's really going to be all about, trying to pay to actually run the facility itself. It's not going to be this huge windfall of money that the city's just going to make tons and tons of money on. But it will help offset the cost of the instructors that we'd have to pay. Our current instructors, they work regular shifts, so they would teach when they teach, they get overtime. So hopefully those revenue streams would take over that kind of stuff. If we brought in a guest instructor, those revenues would help pay for that guest instructor that would pay, that would come in and teach as well. Things like that. So I don't want to, get the commission to believe that we're going to make, millions of dollars on this, but it should very well pay for itself to run the facility after it's built and put together.
Okay, have you heard any of our neighboring cities, are they interested in this project?
Yes, they seem interested. I know Orange City's been trying to build something for a while now, and they can't seem to get it off the ground, so I know they'd be interested. Coming to Deltona would be a lot closer for the most part than it would be going to the county training facility. So coming here would be a lot closer for them as well. And and we just have a great working relationship over here. We could also, I say the county's got their facility, but they've also got a lot of units on the west side of the county that those units have to travel that distance as well to take, so Stone Island, Osteen, North DeLand, South DeLand, all those units, Pearson, all those, now Pearson and those units may be a little closer to Daytona, but we could still bring in those facilities and that type of stuff as well. And if we put on quality classes, kind of you build it and they will come.
And one last question regarding the training. When you send your staff to train on the east side, do you pay per student, per class, or you
It's a
just...
one fee.
It's a one fee?
That one fee, it depends on what building you're using, what you're using out there.
So you could be renting 2 different buildings at the same time?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it depends on the class, too. So, like, if we're going over there to do fire training or build training in their tower or something like that, that's a set fee that we go over the 500 and the 75 and that kind of stuff. But if we're going over there to do, like, there's a live fire instructor class coming up here real soon, where we have to train our people and get them state certified to conduct live fire training. That is a per individual cost. So, and that's all stuff that we could be bringing in to us, as this develops down the road.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Mayor, can I add something real quick? Because I really want to emphasize. I know y'all are worried about costs, and that's what the fire chief and the city manager does, but I want to bring more training. This is a super dangerous job. What the LEO does is a super dangerous job. If you guys haven't been watching the news, you've been missing out. We have so many jobs that we are responsible for. We are no longer a fire department. We are a multi-hazard department. That means we take care of everything from a broken water pipe in somebody's house because they don't know how to turn the water off, to doing a full CPR round on somebody while we're pulling them out of a structure fire. This is a dangerous job. We've got these guys that are coming to us that have zero experience. We do not have the time to take them to Daytona Beach and train them. The only way that's going to happen is if we have internal training here, period. So you can look at cost if you want, but it does boil down to safety and what you want your guys to be trained at, and gals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing how this furthers itself and having another presentation on this in the future.
Sounds good.
Thanks
Thank you for
again.
your time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Ordinances and public hearings, we have none this evening. Number 7, old business, there is none. So we'll move to number 8. 8A is new business. It's a public hearing, resolution number 2021-50, declaring certain city property as surplus and authorizing the sale of such property. Mr. Paradise.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron Paradise, City of Deltona. For the record, resolution number 2021-50 is a request to declare a city-owned 4,000 square foot real property tract as surplus property. The 4,000 square foot tract is triangular in shape and is located on the north side of SR 472 Howland Boulevard, just west of the intersection of Howland Boulevard and Halifax Crossings Boulevard. And it's located near the McDonald's facility there as well. At 4,000 square feet, It's pretty small, has lack of utility, definitely not big enough to support a fire training center, that's for sure. It has about 100 feet of frontage on Howland Boulevard / State Road 472, and the other side's abut privately owned property. In about 2019, the private owner that surrounds the property and city staff talked about the city selling the triangular piece to the adjacent private landowner. Eventually, there were 3 appraisals done on this property. One was done by the landowner in 2019, and the other 2 were performed by the city. And the appraisals are attached, and there is a lot of divergence with regard to the price. One is about $3,500. One is $28,000+, and the other is $2,500. What staff is suggesting is resolution number 2021-50 be approved, declaring this area of real property as surplus land. This declaration allows the city manager to negotiate for sale, but does not obligate the city to sell the property. City staff is also suggesting that these appraisals be reconciled with yet more appraisal work. And city staff is suggesting that the city pay for what is known as a review of appraisal. We anticipate this will probably cost roughly $1,500 to maybe $2,000. This review of appraisals will help reconcile the value of the property so the city can make a cogent and transparent decision with regard to the sale. With regard to this property, it has very limited utility for the city to use for additional infrastructure. That's kind of what we're thinking. Also, this property should not be sold as a standalone parcel or released to the public as a standalone parcel because it doesn't have the size nor the shape to support any modern development format. Basically, the city would be setting somebody up to have problems as they try to advance through the land development review process. So really, it's only valuable to the city retaining ownership or to be subsumed with the private ownership that is located on both sides of this property. I'd be happy to field any questions y'all may have with regard to this.
Thank you, Ron. Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron, what is staff's recommendation?
To declare the property surplus and then authorize or direct staff to initiate the review of appraisal process. And then part of the resolution does give the city manager the ability to negotiate sale of the property.
Why do we want to sell this property?
Because it's difficult for us to maintain, and we don't anticipate ever being able to put it to any feasible use.
How much money do we have in our tree fund?
We've got a sizable amount of money. I do not know the exact amount.
Would that be over $500,000?
It is in the 6 figures and maybe, knocking on the door to 7.
Can we not develop, sell, give away, surplus, whatever, every single square foot that we have and keep some just because it's pretty? I mean, I understand it's in an area. This might just be my opinion. But there's no reason for us to sell it. Not doing anything, not hurting anybody. It's money in our pocket. So what if we have to maintain it? I mean, there comes responsibilities for beautifying a city, for God's sake. Can we get some trees? We have over $500,000. I know that we have over $500,000 in our tree fund, and plant some damn trees out there. I just don't think that we have to sell this property. We have to maintain other stuff, but can we have some nice things, Ron, please? Can we have some nice things? Just keep this property, y'all. There's no reason for us to sell it. No one wants this property. Can we just please keep it? Thank you.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, I'm just curious, have either of the owners of the property that sits adjacent to it made an offer on it?
No, they only paid for the first appraisal, and they haven't made an offer.
Okay,
We haven't got to the point where we feel that, we're ready to negotiate.
Okay. How much did we pay for the first two appraisals?
I know we paid $2,500 for the second one, and I do not know how much we paid for the first one.
Okay, so we're looking at $4,000 so far in appraisals plus the first one. And if they're only willing to pay $3,400, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. I wouldn't sell it. I would like to know if there's an offer on it before you even proceed.
Yeah, we have not been presented with a formal offer.
Yeah. Then I would just agree with Commissioner McCool, leave it alone.
Yeah, I guess, what we're looking for here was, can we declare the property as surplus and then, engage in negotiation? And that the resolution 2021-50 would give the city manager or the acting city manager the ability to negotiate.
Okay. He doesn't have that ability right now?
Not without the declaration of surplus property.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I'm sorry, I think you kind of answered some of the questions that I had. So to put it in a surplus, obviously you do have a potential buyers, that's correct? Okay, so that kind of answers their questions because they were asking if there was an offer or that there's not an offer, but somebody's actually interested in purchasing it to acquire for part of their parcel.
Correct.
To conjoin it. Is that to give them right of way?
No, it would better unify their property.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner King?
Ron, I don't see an issue with declaring it as surplus property, but to tack on adding another appraisal or review that's going to cost another $1,500, I think is not a good idea. If you want to declare it surplus property, that's fine. But let's not go any further than that until we have somebody that's interested in the property. I mean, once somebody says, hey, we want to look at that, we want to buy that piece of property, then if we have to get an appraisal, fine. But we've already spent more money than what the property may be worth.
That is probably the fact, yes.
So I would say fine if you want to declare it as surplus property, but let's stop there until we have a buyer for the property. Nobody's interested in it, fine, it's going to sit there, we'll just have to maintain it. But to spend more money on it and not even have a buyer is not good sense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So question for you, sir. Right now, are we maintaining that property?
I do not know exactly what we're doing with it. I believe that it sits landward of the fence that is located along Howland.
So listening to everybody's commentary, right now we've spent money, about several $1,000s on appraisals, and your appraisal that the city came in is so far off than the other two appraisals, it's like mind-blowing. So the pro to selling this piece of property, first of all, declaring it surplus to see if there's a possibility to sell it. I have three questions. Number one, what is our, either the state or our process, how many appraisals does it require, and what is the reconciliation of the appraisals per our ordinance, statute, resolution, or our policy?
The first step is obviously the declaration. Our policy with regard to land acquisition requires, I want to say, at least 2 appraisals And, you know, we kind of modeled a little bit of this appraisal after this. Typically, and I'm not an expert on real estate appraising by any stretch of the imagination, but typically we see appraisals that, you know, are anywhere from 10 to 15% of actual value that property is bought and sold for. Either way. And the thing that's very attention-getting with regard to this situation is we've got the two appraisals that, you know, they're close. You know, they're within the ballpark. And then we have this other appraisal that's a pretty significant outlier. And, you know, we just think that it's better to come back and look at this and say, you know, just for the sake of transparency in what we're doing with this piece of property is say, you know, let's make another investment to try and reconcile this. So again, everybody can make an informed decision on what this property is worth and moving forward on disposition of it.
And the other question I have right now, this is city property and we have no tax revenue coming in from that, correct?
I'm sorry, could you?
This is city property, so there's zero tax revenue, property tax revenue coming in.
That's correct, yes.
So if this were to be sold, it would be, you would at least be getting, it would go parts of the other parcel and it would be a small revenue generator.
Yeah, oh yeah, it would be put back on the tax.
And looking at some of the comments in terms of our maintenance and putting trees on the property, since that's so close to Howland, a tree situation, you'd have to look to see if that would impair any of the driving, any of the site and so forth, if you were to plant trees on that. And what is the city's liability for this parcel?
I do not know. I'd have to defer to the city attorney on that.
I would say it would be minimal. You know, I mean, there's always a possibility there could, you know, and I haven't seen that particular piece of property, but if there was an automobile accident and there was something where that piece of property had some kind of defect or something that was instrumental in an accident, but I'm not aware of any of those things. So I would say that from that perspective, I would say there's little liability.
But again, we're working with some of these other landowners to reconcile parcels, and here we have a 4,000 square foot triangle that we can't do anything with. And to get that off the city's neck and let the private landowner deal with that parcel and make their property whole. I mean, a 4,000 square feet isn't going to do anything for us. But again, it's out of our hands in terms of any kind of liability, any maintenance, or anything else. I mean, that's just the way I look at it.
Madam Mayor, if I could, when you were asking Ron those questions, I'm the one, when this was all kind of brought to me, the disparity in the appraisals was
horrendous.
Too great to say, okay, we'll throw out the high one. And, you know, so I said, the only way I know how to deal with that, and if I was representing a private property owner, you know, I would say the same thing, is we needed a review appraisal because something is wrong. Either it was from the perspective of what that property may be worth to the adjoining property owner, or gave them some kind of access that we're not, I mean, there was something there that would have that dramatic effect on the appraisal.
And that was our appraisal, correct?
No. Was that our appraisal?
Yes, it was.
Ron?
It was.
Oh, that was
our
ours.
appraisal. That's
Okay.
the outlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was uncomfortable with that.
I'm uncomfortable with that too, because it's a horrendous difference, and that's our appraisal that is extremely out of line.
Yeah.
Or the other two, I mean, I can't imagine. But anyway, Commissioner McCool.
Not to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't care if we put garden gnomes there. My point is, A, I agree with you that the market value looks a little wonky to me. So low visibility garden gnomes. But we're preserving some land for us. I understand, but that also becomes about what the market will bear, right? If they want the property, then they are willing to pay a premium price, because at this, what is the generation of tax on the current valuation? I'm sure that we spend more than on toilet paper, right?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
This is not going to be
Yeah.
This is just going to be, this isn't going to be change in the sofa. You know, it's not going to amount to that.
Look, I'm just saying, can we like keep a little, we don't have to, you know, sell everything we have, do we? Can't we keep this in, I'm looking and, you know, it's not a bad thing that we keep this property. Maybe the valuation goes up in a couple of years, so what the market will bear, we own that. Until then, put concrete turtles or garden gnomes on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would like to speak to that.
Yep.
It's not often that you've seen staff come up here and advocate for the sale of city property. This is just kind of one of these outliers. Yeah, we've talked about and done vacations of rights of way, you know, to help unify property. And just to kind of foreshadow future events, we're going to be having a few of those coming up here in a little bit, you know, in the next few meetings. But, you know, we typically, you know, staff's pretty conservative with regard to city-owned resources, you know, especially fee simple that isn't, you know, associated with dedicated property and so forth.
And I respect that wholly, right? I'm not a property appraiser. I'm not staff. I am a fan of garden gnomes and vacant land. So that's just my position on that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Looking at the appraisal, that looks a little outdated. These are 2019. So just so I can get my bearings, if I'm looking at this correctly, this is by the McDonald's, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
It is. It's located just to the west.
And the triangle is going inwards towards the McDonald's?
Yeah, the apex of it.
Is that where they have where you kind of drive through to go in, and it's like a dead end there, and they can't do anything with it?
I think what you're referring to is a stub out that goes to the north.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah,
is that where that's kind of heading, or no?
It doesn't stub into the triangle. I think that the triangle is located kind of to the southwest of McDonald's.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion. I hereby make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-50 declaring an approximately 4,000 square foot property described as follows. The portion of lots 1 through 4 and exclusively Block 6, Davis Park, 3rd edition, as recorded in Map Book 6, page 205 of the Public Records of Volusia County, Florida, laying northeasterly of a line that is 100 feet northeasterly of and parallel with the center line of construction as shown in the map of State Road 472 extension as recorded in the right-of-way map book 2, page 8 of such public records as surplus property, and direct the city manager to initiate a review of appraisal from a qualified appraiser to help establish a value. The city will be under no obligation to sell the property. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections to scrivener errors and the like.
Okay, motion's been properly made by Vice Mayor Bradford, and do we have a second on that motion? I will second the motion. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Mayor. Albert Bryan, please.
Good evening. Albert Bryan, Deltona. You know, this has been an interesting conversation, to say the least. And I have to agree with the lawyer that the 29,000 one, just throw that out. That's ridiculous. You're talking about 4,000 feet. And it's a triangle. Let's think about this. Y'all are talking about making it the scourge of Deltona and selling it off as scourge property. That's interesting. That's really interesting. It really is. But yet, the man over here says that he doesn't have any offers for it. So we're going to take and spend more money, waste more money, to try to sell something that nobody really wants. So let's think about this for a minute. 4,000 square feet. How many indigenous species of trees that are yay tall are actually in the state of Florida? I think it's a little over 5,000. Let's think about that for a minute. We have a huge tree fund. You've got the community garden people here. Let's think about that. 4,000 square feet. How many plants could you put in 4,000 square feet? But maybe McDonald's would actually like to see some pretty foliage out in front of their building, rather than that godforsaken sign that y'all okayed a few years back. You got a big cement wall out there that's got your little emblem on it. That's in teal, really ugly, by the way. And yet you have a chance to throw some really cool things out there. Now, no offense about the garden gnomes, but I don't think that Mr. King wants to stand out there all day, you know, looking like a garden gnome. But in all honesty, if y'all want to take and do something proper for once, throw some seeds out there, grow some plants out there. If you still want to call it the scourge of the city, so be it.
Thank you, sir.
Closes public comments, Mayor.
Thank you very much. That closes the public comment portion of the hearing. So we have a motion and a second to declare this as surplus property, to give the option of putting this up for sale. It is not guaranteed, but it is the option for. Am I correct, Mr. Paradise? And the last question I have, is there any interest that you know from either adjoining property owner, or have you not, haven't talked to them about that until this is declared surplus?
Besides the public right-of-way, there is only one abutting landowner, and yes, they do have interest.
So to be clear, because we've heard here that there is no interest, could you please say that one more time?
Yes, the abutting property owner, the abutting private property owner does have interest. And as part of their interest, they did pay for the first appraisal.
Okay. Commissioner, board's lighting up. Commissioner Sosa and Vice Mayor.
Now, the adjoining property owner, is their property developed at this time?
The adjoining property owner is Trafalgar LLC, and they are the developers of Halifax Crossing. So the development program we see out there with Halifax Hospital, Wawa, and McDonald's is all part of that commercial node that Trafalgar did and is working on developing.
Okay, so basically what they would like to do is buy this piece of property and merge it into the existing property.
Absolutely, and that would be, if it's sold to a private entity, it should be sold to that surrounding landowner to merge it with their larger holdings.
Okay. Just quick curious. Infill lots in Deltona, say quarter acre, third acre, how much are they going for right now?
I've heard northward of 50K.
50K? So quarter acre, that's probably what, 7,500 square feet maybe?
A quarter acre is about 10,000 square feet.
Okay. I thought 10,000 was a half acre. So basically that 29,000 for commercial property is not that far off. If you're looking at an infill lot for a residential build going for 50K, you know, that's probably somewhere between 5 and 7,500 square feet, then $40,000 for a piece of commercial property that you can build and make money off of, it definitely has a higher value than $2,500.
That's what drove that methodology you refer to, from layman's terms, from reviewing these appraisals, is what drove that second appraisal. And it was just based on X number of dollars per square foot. And they kind of applied it to this 4,000 square foot area. The other appraisals looked at it differently and looked at it from a standpoint that what is the practical use of this property as a standalone entity. And, you know, in light of that, the lack of utility and the lack of size that is available to support really any type of modern development format is what led to the much lower prices.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor, and then Commissioner McCool.
Ryan, before I make a possible change to my motion, I mean, I get it 100%. I wouldn't want to have a parcel that is being cut into development-wise. It just doesn't make sense. And it's only pretty much going to be good for that one person. There's a 0.26 or 2-something acre lot between the city and another parcel down Howland, and they've got a $50,000 price tag on it. So it's not, I seriously don't think the city's, tag is too high for that. I know that parcel sold in 2020 for $20,000. So you got a comp right there. Would it be out of line to see if the individuals interested in purchasing the parcel would be willing to assist with the appraisal fees?
I think that we could approach them on that.
So would I need to amend my motion to have it that?
I think that we could carry on with the motion and just accept the consensus from the city commission that, hey, look, we should split the fee 50-50.
Right, because real estate values between 2019 and 2021 are totally different. So what was happening during COVID in 2019 when this appraisal, I looked at the dates, it's going to be totally different now. And like I said, in 2020, that parcel, I want to say it was 1362 or something like that. Howland, I think that parcel sold for $20,000, and that parcel was probably maybe 0.26 of an acre. So, I mean, this is a decent corner. It's a part of his lot. I mean, I would see if we could approach it in the matter of working with the potential individuals interested to assist with that appraisal fee.
Okay.
But we get to choose the appraisal, obviously, and be in control of it so that it doesn't go on,
Absolutely.
one-sided.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. Then I'll keep my motion.
Okay, Commissioner McCool.
Are y'all seriously going to make me start a Save the Triangle movement here? Listen, for what it would cost us to keep the property, right, in that area right there, I'm serious about native plants or whatever there. I mean, we are always preaching and talking about what's going to benefit most of the residents, 100,000 residents. This is going to benefit a developer right here, whoever wants to buy, that's who it's going to benefit. I'm talking about, in practical terms, we have $600,000 in a tree fund or planting in which to beautify our city. We talk about doing that. This is a passive parcel that we already own here. I love staff, I honor staff, but I also honor the 100,000 people that it's going to be more meaningful for them to see a nice planting there than it is another developer appropriating a triangle. I understand it might be beneficial for them, but it's not going to kill us to save the dang triangle, y'all. It's just really not. We're talking about beautifying our city. Here's a way to do it. It's not going to cost us. It'll cost us maintenance, but such is life. But we have free money or tree fund money there in which to beautify there. That's a prominent place that we could do something meaningful instead of just let it be absorbed by another developer. Sorry, I'm all for progress, but we have a chance here, y'all, to save the triangle.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there utilities out there on this piece of land?
There is utilities in the area.
Who's the water utility?
Everything is Volusia County, water and sewer.
So if we were to put plants out there and water, we would be paying Volusia County water, correct?
For irrigation, yes.
For irrigation. Okay. And then we would have to maintain that with staff, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second for declaring this surplus property, not selling it, not making a decision, just declaring it surplus property. May we vote? Well, we might have to read the resolution. May we vote, please? Yes, sir.
We're only voting to declare it surplus property.
Because you can't go any further without declaring it surplus property.
That's correct. But we're not talking about, we're not voting on getting the reevaluation or the reevaluation of the property.
It is part of the motion.
So then it's not just declaring it surplus property. See what I'm saying? You're declaring something surplus property, but now you're going to spend the money when we still don't have a buyer.
We do.
No, he's not saying we do. He's not saying that. He said we have a potential buyer that hasn't approached us yet.
Have they approached us or not, Mr. Paradise? Can you clarify the situation from the buyer?
What the buyer has done, the buyer is interested in the property, okay? And to establish their interest, they did invest in the first appraisal that was done in 2019. And they have continued to inquire about the disposition of this property. And this is what led to the city doing 2 other appraisals and finally advancing it to the city commission for determination on what direction to go with it.
But this devalues the property. Once we declare it surplus, it devalues. By simply saying that this property is surplus, it devalues by just that it devalues the property. Once we vote and say that it's surplus, it's like, nah, we don't need it, whatever. It becomes non-valuable and it devaluates it for that buyer. Am I wrong? Once we declare it surplus, it's devalued in the real estate market.
It is not. It is going to be whether or not the appraisal comes in to where the commission wants to sell the piece of property for that amount when the appraisals come in. The commission, am I wrong, still has the opportunity to say no.
Yes, you do.
That's correct.
That is my question. So the commission can decline the sale.
Yes, the commission can. The resolution does give the acting city manager the ability to negotiate on behalf of the commission.
All right, there's a motion and a second, and we are voting. May we continue with the vote, please? And the motion passes 4-3.
Do we have a consensus from the city commission to try and split the cost of the review appraisals?
So the question, Mr. Paradise, can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, do we have a consensus of the commission to approach the interested party to split the cost of the appraisal? The review of appraisal. Yeah. And I'm seeing, affirmative nods.
All right, let's see, we're going to go down the line for consensus.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Sosa, do you have consensus to split the cost? Yes. Commissioner Avila Vasquez? Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
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 Commissioner McCool?
No.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Okay, you have consensus.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please keep the commission informed on this process with an update whenever you hit a significant milestone.
Duly noted.
Correct, Commission?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Public forum.
Michael Williams, and then Richard Bellick. Michael Williams, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Michael Williams, 2889 Cottageville Street, been a resident of Deltona since 1985. And oh, by the way, somebody asked the question of what a quarter-acre lot selling for, and I sell a lot of them. They're going between $60,000 and $65,000. Okay, just so everybody know. What one man's trash is another man's treasure, even with appraisal sometimes, is what a person really wants that property for. It goes a long way in determining what the value is. So being in the business for a long time, I see it all the time. But I really came tonight to address a situation that was kind of bothersome to me, quite frankly. I saw that in the last application that I made to be a member of the Affordable Housing Advisory Commission, my application was denied. And I found that to be rather alarming and somewhat troubling. I've been a member of the Affordable Housing Commission since 2008. I was one of the original members of the Affordable Housing Task Force when it was formed here in Deltona. I was here at the very beginning when it was formed. I see Brother Ron Paradise is here. He can tell you my input, I think, to the committee has been invaluable. I see another member of the advisory committee here, Eric James, here tonight, and who also agree that my experience and expertise and what I brought to the table was valuable. I've done probably more than anyone in assisting homeowners, especially first-time home buyers, into getting into homes in Deltona. When we had the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, the city of Deltona was one of the better participating jurisdictions. What happened when you got money from the state and from the feds? You were given 3 years to spend the money, and if you didn't, it would go to a better participating jurisdiction. Because of the work that we did here in Deltona, we got extra money from some of these agencies that didn't do anything. So I was just perplexed to say, why wasn't my application approved? So I'm going to wait and see until the end of the meeting to hear commissioner comments. I know you don't do a back and forth here at the dais, but I'm just going to wait and see on the commissioner comments why somebody who brings a wealth of experience, what you're looking for to work on these boards, that a person like that, their application is denied. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Richard Bellick, please.
Good evening. Is that the new deputy city manager? I was going to ask you how you like me so far. No, what I want to say tonight is I want to tell some of the residents with this asbestos deal, go out, reach out to these lawyers because the money is there. And you take 2 simple tests, and believe me, you will be more than satisfied with the amount that is given to you. It is a very good thing. It's not phony. The lawyer gets some money out of it, that's true, but you get it too, and you do absolutely nothing. Now, I want to tell you something, Heidi, about your magistrate, special magistrate. That is an act in itself. That can compare with the Honeymooners, Sanford and Son. That guy is a fantastic guy. He really is. That is really something to watch. I mean, this guy's a fair-minded guy. And in Deltona, that's, person in authority in Deltona being fair-minded, that's pretty odd. So other than that, good luck.
Thank you, sir. Closes the public forum for this evening. Now we'll move to comments on consent agenda. Next up is our consent agenda, and prior to the consent agenda, we will have comments on the items from the members of the public. Is there anyone that signed up for comments on consent agenda?
Albert Bryan, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. 2 things I'd like to see pulled tonight. One is Joe Hearn's contract. I think any contract that we have needs to be talked about. Any personal contract, that is. The other one is E. Now let's think about this for just a minute. When we originally okayed Joe Hearn's contract, it was for basically $1,000 a week, 10%. Oh, are we seeing that same thing again, that same number? Now, let's go over to number E. Let's see here. It says here that it's $67.50 per hour, but But when you actually open up and look at the letter that was sent to y'all, or actually Mr. Peters, it says $97.50 per hour. So what are you actually voting on? Are you voting on his letter, or are you voting on what's here on this? It makes me kind of wonder. We talk about transparency. Well, where's the transparency? Oh, that's right, our acting assistant manager or our acting manager had his homework eaten by a dog. And that's why we have the deputy manager here. So, I wonder, what actually is going on here? When it says on this piece of paper y'all put out for the public, notice the word public there, it says $67.50. But when you actually open up the link, when it says Deltona, City of Deltona proposal, it says $97.50. Now let's think about that. $97.50 per week is about $3,100 a week. But it says 32 hours per week or 148 hours per month. So let's think about that. 148 hours per month is $14,430. Or $173,000. Now I understand he's also having to pay his own insurance out of this, his own gas, and so forth and so on. I get that. But it makes me kind of wonder when there's a $30 difference between what you're putting out here to the public on this piece of paper and what you're hiding in the proposals that you can't link on this piece of paper. And y'all have this in the consent agenda. The consent agenda. So in other words, y'all are just going to read this stuff and say, okay, let's vote. Really? No discussion at all on personal contracts? The gentleman for the center has worked his ass off for the past few years for us. He got derailed last year because of COVID. Where's the raise for him? Oh, that's right. Nobody saw fit to give him a raise, did you? And yet, you got somebody that's been here less than a year, you're giving him a $30 raise.
Thank you, sir.
That ends consent.
Okay, Deputy City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, so there are a few items on the consent agenda that I did want to bring to your attention, and he beat me to the punch. So it was actually brought to my attention during the meeting that on the agenda memo, there was a misprint. It is supposed to be $97.50 per hour. The contract is correct for Mr. O'Grady. And then the other item on the consent agenda, Mr. Hearn's contract, just a couple of things there, and it's actually pretty minor. We just need to update the contract to improve the language for the insurance. And if you take a look at the contract, there's also a previous city manager's name listed. So we need to make those two improvements. Other than that, there's no issue with his contract as it's included in the packet.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read the 4 items on consent this evening. Item 11A.
Point of order. I'd like to pull A, C, and E.
Absolutely. But let me go ahead and read them first, sir, and then if you click in, I'll go ahead and recognize you. Item A, approval of a 1-year renewal of agreement for events manager Joe Hearn Events. Item B, request for approval of West Volusia Animal Shelter, DBA New Hope Animal Shelter for Animal Services. C, request for approval of Halifax Humane Society Redinger Clinic Memorandum of Understanding for Animal Services. Item D, request for approval of Halifax Humane Society Inc. Agreement for Animal Services. E, request for approval of contract with John O'Grady of Maitland, Florida, part-time employment, assist with code enforcement training, accreditation, contract negotiations, and other assignments as requested. So, Commissioner Sosa, you wanted to pull which items, sir?
A, C, and E.
A, C, and E. Okay. Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That being said, if there's no other commissioner would like to pull anything, I make a motion to approve consent agenda item B and D.
Properly moved by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Commissioner Sosa. May we vote, please, for items B and D? And the motion passes 7-0. So let's start with item A. Item A is the approval of a one-year renewal of agreement for the events manager, Joe Hearn Events. Commissioner Sosa, you wanted to pull that one.
Yeah, I have some questions. You know, I saw this, I was out of town this weekend. I started reading this last night. I sent the acting city manager an email, and I wanted to know how much was paid last year to Joe Hearns on just a flat fee. And then I wanted to know how much was paid on commission for events that he brought to the center. And then I want to know how much was paid in commission for events that Joe Hearns was not involved in, because on here we have a 10% net of whatever the center brings in. I was just curious what those numbers are.
Mr. Sosa, we did receive your request, but it was 1 o'clock this afternoon, so it's going to take a little bit of time for us to gather the information, specifically what you're asking for in terms of the breakdown. Although I can tell you, in the contract, it's $4,000 a month is his management fee. So right there, obviously, $48,000, and then the commissions, we'd have to actually go back through and figure out which ones you're saying he personally brought to the center and the difference between those that were obtained with other center staff. And
yeah, because the way the contract's written is he gets net 10%
of both,
whatever revenue comes into the center, the way I'm reading it. So I'm just wondering how much of that revenue did he bring in and how much was just walk-in that the city had brought in? You know, I want to know what the difference is on that.
And it is going to take us a little bit of time to do that breakdown. And you want that for fiscal year 2021?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioners, any more questions on item A, approval of the contract for Mr. Hearn? Okay, if there are no more questions from, yes, Vice Mayor?
No, I just want to make a statement. Joe, you have done an amazing job at the center, and I do want to tell you how much I appreciate it. I mean, you came in, and your spunk and your charisma, I mean, you just know when Joe Hearn's there, you're doing a great job, and I want to say thank you.
Okay, and I would also like to, we're going to need a motion and a second for this.
Make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
I move to approve the renewal of the agreement for events manager Joe Hearn Events. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, so properly moved by Commissioner Vilazquez. Who seconded that? Commissioner McCool. Okay, may we vote, please?
That's cool.
And the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll move on to item C, Commissioner Sosa. That is the request for the Humane Society Redinger Clinic Memorandum of Understanding for Animal Services.
Right. Now, we're going to be paying Halifax, the Humane Society, $35,000 for spay and neuter, correct? My question is, are we going to be funding TNR $50,000 again this year for the same spay and neuter program? Because I couldn't find that in the budget as a line item, and I want to know if there's another $50,000 allocated for TNR as well as the $35,000 for the Halifax.
I can field those questions.
Yes, sir.
Halifax provides a lot of animal control services to the city besides the Redinger veterinary element. Everything from where we transport, I don't know, a lost dog goes to Halifax. So there is some commonality there that involves TNR, but most of the TNR work is done through the Redinger contract. And by the way, we spent about $25,000 with Redinger last year.
Okay, so now this is where I'm getting confused with the TNR and Redinger. Are we going to fund, because here it says $35,000, are we going to fund that $35,000 plus an additional $50,000?
I believe that $35,000 will come out of that $50,000.
Okay, so where's the other $15,000?
where does it go? To other TNR type of activities.
Now, who was collecting that money for TNR?
Who's collecting it?
Yeah, well, who's the check get written to?
Typically, it's sent to Redinger for, a lot of the heavy lift. There's some other veterinary services that get, used as well as part of TNR.
So are we going to send them $50,000 or $35,000?
In total, with regard to this particular contract, we're forecasting a $35,000 expenditure.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sosa, can I maybe help you with that? Because what it is we have purchase orders throughout the city for different things, and this is an MOU because of Redinger, but purchase orders for other things are done throughout the city, and anything that is billed, whatever it is, through the city, it's done through a purchase order. The bill is sent to the city, and the city then cuts the check and vets the entire bill. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Deputy City Manager and Mr. Paradise. That's the way it works for anything that's purchased. And there has to be a purchase order for anything that goes through, whether it's something like this or any other services. We have contracts with other clinics for euthanasia services, for after-hours services. Correct, Mr. Paradise?
Correct.
And that's all done on a purchase order basis, and then the city is billed through that. So that only goes through the city's billing system, and especially all of this. Does that help? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions on that? If not, we need a motion and a second for the request for approval of Halifax Redinger Clinic. Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor.
I move to approve Halifax Humane Society Redinger Clinic Memorandum of Understanding for Animal Services. The acting city manager has the authority to make correction of Scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Vice Mayor Bradford, seconded by Commissioner McCool. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0, and that moves us to item E, which is a request for approval of contract with John O'Grady and Commissioner Sosa.
Okay. I've got several issues with this contract, the money being one of it. First of all, couple 3 weeks ago, I asked Acting City Manager Peters for a list of accomplishments from John O'Grady, as well as how much money was paid out last year. And I've got the list of accomplishments here, and I was just curious, if the Deputy City Manager, Mr. O'Grady, could shed some light on these. And, going with code enforcement, in your accomplishments, you said you want to change the perception of code enforcement, and I want to know, what have you done to change the public perception? I know we've rebranded and we put a new name on the side of the vehicles saying code compliance, but what actually has been done?
John O'Grady, Maitland. Your question, what has actually been done?
Yeah, to change public perception. Because I had somebody at a town hall ask me, we're paying you all this money, what has been done to code enforcement? And basically my only answer is we changed the name from code enforcement to code compliance.
So that would be one of it, rebranding, which we've done. We did town hall meetings, giving an opportunity for the residents to come out and talk about what they want to see in their code enforcement. We took those ideas back. The policies have been changed. They have a strategic plan now. They have goals and objectives within the code enforcement section, and they were restructured. The uniform change, once again, the appearance, right? Your first appearance is everything. They went from what was quoted as a SWAT look, law enforcement look, a badge, authoritarian, to a more softer look out there, more approachable to the citizens that they serve.
Okay. Now, was that your idea? Because I know when I talked to the acting city manager, Peters, before you came on board, we had already discussed those. So this really isn't something new?
It is part of the discussion process. So it's best practices nationwide. You want to take those looks that they had and change them. And part of those were conversations with the acting city manager.
Okay. Now, did you have like classes set up for code enforcement on how to deal better with public? Has there been any, training?
Yes, they've had 2 classes so far, one on customer service, on how to talk to citizens when they approach you, and they've also had active shooter. And we're continuing, I'm working with the risk manager on bringing a 3rd class in that will actually teach them how to defend themselves. Because when I came on board, they had an ASP, which is a baton. They have other defensive items that they aren't even certified or were not. Certification ran out, let's just put it that way. They were certified at one time. But they need to learn how to back off. They need to learn how to defend themselves. And I think the assistant city manager also wants the Parks and Rec personnel that are out in the parks that may approach somebody for whatever reason they have to go through the same training. So there is that 3rd training that'll be coming forward.
Okay. So basically, the active shooter, hopefully it never goes to that.
Let's hope.
Then, here you have also that you accomplished working with the TNR, and I'll be honest with you, my biggest headache is feral cats. I get between 1 and 5 emails a week, and it's from the same area that when Mr. Peters brought you in, he assured me you were going to resolve that issue. And here we are. It's an issue that's been going on for 3 years. I've been dealing with it for about, 9 months now, and we seem to be getting nowhere with it. So, I mean, you've got this built as a success here. To me, it's a failure because we have not actually fixed that problem.
Yes, Commissioner, that is one resident out of 95,000 residents, and I feel for her. We're dealing with 2 cats in that area that, one of the processes that we changed, we actually brought it forward to the magistrate, so the animal control would have a little more teeth in the ordinance that they could actually do something. But it is 2 cats, 1 resident. The people that lived in that house are now gone and unfortunately left those cats behind. And talking to Mr. Lovett, he's dealing with it every day, 12 hours a day while they're on shift trying to get those cats.
Now, let me ask you, what's your policy for, say, a stray dog?
A stray dog?
Yeah, as opposed to a stray cat.
Well, the policy would be you would get that dog, you would see if it had a chip in it, try to return it to its owner, and if you cannot, you take it to the Humane Society.
Okay. So what is the difference on trapping the cats versus catching the dog?
So currently, there's a program in the city of Deltona, the TNR program. There's no program for dogs per se. So we just follow that policy, the Humane Society policy on that.
Now, I was talking to Mr. Peters. I've heard really good stories about some of the TNR volunteers are really good at catching, stray cats, feral cats. Have they been sent to this area to help catch those cats? I brought this up several weeks ago to Mr. Peters, and, it seems to be going nowhere.
Yes, so back in February when I was made aware of this problem when I came on, we met with TNR volunteers. They had gone out to the residents. They spoke with her. She did not want to take any of the actions that usually dissuade cats from coming into your yard. So we had to deal with that, and actually Mr. Lovett has offered that service again to send the TNR volunteers back out because, as I said, we're just dealing with 2 cats and what the issues are there. And actually talking with Mr. Lovett today, the cat's home base is still the house next door, which is empty. And we've made the landlord, the owner of the property, aware, and he's bringing out some other ways to catch the cat. The onus is on him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like it would be fairly easy to, if it's only 2 cats, to, I mean, because I understand this owner, she's got a security system, and every time the cat passes her front of the house, which seems to be a regular event, it goes off in the middle of the night. So it's just not a matter of 2 cats. It's a quality of life for that resident.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we just can't say it's 2 cats, it's quality of life that keeps waking her up.
Absolutely.
Next, I was curious. You said you've assisted with VSO and investigations for personnel matters. How many of those personnel matters require VCSO, and what were they, and do you have any reports on them?
So I assisted with a couple of 2, and I believe there's still employees who are in the process of separation. So Mr. Peters has that information. I'd feel more comfortable if he discussed it with them. But typically, Commissioner, what would happen is internally we would get involved to review, and if it looks criminal at all, then we would back off and give it, in this case, to VSO, because the criminal's higher than an internal, a civil. So VSO, and they have not responded with their full completed report yet, because that employee is no longer here and the whole separation's going on. But Mr. Peters can fill you in on that, and I have given him the report, but it's not completed yet.
Okay. Now, it also said you're working with the Sheriff's Office on a new MOU or new contract with them, and it's what with Amendment 10 has made the contract with VSO, have to modify, just from my curiosity?
So there's a couple things that Mr. Peters wanted changed in the contract. He wanted to be able to discuss personnel issues with the captain that's in this area, or resolve it with the sheriff himself. He also wanted, if there was a conflict between commissioners and the sheriff, or city employees and the sheriff's personnel, he wanted something in there also that he would, that they would have a sit-down before it became public.
And that's because of Amendment 10 we have to put that, or is that just something?
That's just something extra, plus him being a constitutional officer now, instead of before everything went through the county. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, because in here you just had, you were kind of saying Amendment 10 is causing us to redo the entire contract. So,
well, because he is a constitutional.
What part of Amendment 10 is causing that?
One of them is he's a constitutional officer now, and I believe that's what you're referring to. Right. Also, Mr. Peters wanted to add a couple other things in there to just shore it up, and then bring it forward to the commission, which hopefully it'll be here by the 18th.
Okay. And then I'm going to go to the last one, which basically, comes down to money and benefits, and Mr. Bryant already covered it. And I'm looking, if you work 148 hours a month times 12 months times $97.50 a month, we're looking at $173,160. That's a big jump from the $65,000 you had on contract last year. I personally, myself, would not even consider that.
So there's a couple of things on there, Commissioner, if I may speak. It's a competitive rate, where before 67 was under the what's the competitive rate. Also, I'm taking on all contracting of additional people that I bring in. You talked about the training earlier. That's coming out of my company, so I'm paying all the insurance, all the liability on that. I'm not charging benefits or insurance, to you guys. I'm not a full-time employee, so it's a competitive rate. And like I said, I'm covering all contractors that I bring in for different aspects that the city may need.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to my last response. Mm-hmm. And if we look under B, it says reimbursable expenses. Travel is requested by the acting city manager. we would pay for your conferences, seminars requested by the city manager. You, as an independent contractor, that would be your responsibility. I'm not sure why the city would pay for your conferences and seminars. And then we have nothing here. It says contracting of additional PSA consultants. There's nothing in here as to any kind of dollar amount or limits with this contract. And, with that being said, I think this whole contract needs to be tabled till the city manager gets back and we can actually get some definite answers and a better contract negotiated than what's here, because honestly, this here just it's wide open for, monetary expenses to the city.
So, Commissioner, if I can just finish the rest of that sentence under B, are covered as part of the agreed-upon fees, which I cover all three of those. That's part of my fee. I'm sorry if it doesn't read that way to you, but that's the way it's interpreted, that I cover, under B, I cover A, B, and C as part of my hourly fee.
Well, when it says reimbursable expenses, that means to me the city's going to reimburse you for those costs.
Right, reimbursable fees listed below are covered as part of the agreed-upon fees.
So the maximum would be $173,000.
My $97.50 an hour covers A, B, and C.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
All right.
Vice Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Kifalo? Did you want to?
Yeah, I wanted to make a few comments in response, and to also point out that there are things that Mr. O'Grady provided in his report that he could have gone into more depth, I think, and we continue to pull him into areas where we can use his knowledge and the people that he is also bringing in to assist the city, I think is going to be very helpful for us moving forward. He is working on improving the background check processes for all of our new hires. The system that we're working on right now does delay the process for HR, so with him working with the VSO and getting that taken care of and the operations there, that's going to make a huge difference. He already talked about the internal investigations. He and I have been working together to prepare for the fire union contract negotiations that are coming up. And we also have someone else helping us with that. And he has been involved with Parks and Rec and also the fire training facility. So I just wanted to point out a few of those things. In terms of the TNR program, and I don't dismiss this lady's concerns, it seems odd to us that two cats continue to return to the same porch. So the logical question for us was, is there something that's attracting these cats there? And it turns out that catnip isn't the only plant that may attract cats, so just something to consider. Not that we're going to stop, but that is something to consider. And I think the biggest thing I want to address is code enforcement and your question regarding public perception. And so I'll start out week 7, but I think the biggest thing for public perception for code enforcement is consistency. And that is something that this city has lacked, from what I understand, in terms of code compliance. And that is the ability for code officers to go out and actually enforce and feel supported by management, feel supported by the commission. And I think that is the biggest task right now that Mr. O'Grady and Mr. Paradise are dealing with in terms of code enforcement, code compliance, and that is retaining the consistency that we are applying the rules to every property in the city and we're not making exceptions. And that's something that, frankly, I'd ask the commission for support in continuing to do that, because it is the only way that you're going to see good improvement in code enforcement here. I'll leave it at that.
Just for the record, it's not just 2 cats, because the day I was there, I counted 11.
Yeah.
So it's more than just 2. There was 11 that day I was there.
And if I could say something, because I've worked with Mr. O'Grady also, and and kind of in tandem with what Stacy was saying, I've been brought into the code enforcement process, trying to create that consistency and working with our code and the code enforcement officers to understand what options we have if we have homesteaded property, non-homesteaded property, rental property, with regards to getting, again, compliance. We're not trying to do anything punitive to anyone. We're just trying to get compliance. And there has not been that kind of process in place that makes those code officers understand what options they have for us to accomplish the task. So initially I was kind of dragged in kicking and screaming, but I've been working with Mr. O'Grady and Ron Paradise to try and find, because we do have code, we do have statutes, we do have law that we can use, and we have abatement. I filed the first foreclosure last week on a property that's owned by people that don't live in Florida, and we have like $68,000 in fines. And so that is the first foreclosure case that has ever been filed in Deltona. And so I am working with that group to try and be effective, because I truly believe that when the public sees that problems are being taken care of, we dealt with a hoarder where we had vermin. We've been dealing with those kinds of properties that make the rest of the neighborhood very unhappy about how things are, and the fear that it's devaluing their property. Those are the kinds of things we've really been focusing on. So I think that by bringing legal into this, it has the ability to create that consistency and also help the code officers feel like somebody is trying to help them do their job and do it effectively, so they feel like they've accomplished something. And it's kind of, to me, everybody, when you feel like you're working hard, but you've accomplished something that has value, that has a tremendous impact on how people feel about their work. So,
Vice Mayor?
Oh, just one last thing. Should you guys go ahead and approve this, I would like Section B just worded a little differently. Reimbursable expenses, listed below are covered by ASA as part of the agreed upon fees, instead of just leaving it there to where the interpretation could go either towards the city or ASA.
Vice Mayor?
Ms. Stacy, thank you for clarifying that, because I'm going to be honest, looking at this, I had questions as well. Mr. O'Grady, how many average hours a week have you done to try to, so far this year, these last 6 months?
It's fluctuated between 19 and 32, but I hit the 32 when I bring in other consultants, such as the training we were just discussing. That might hit the 32, but personally, me here is 10 to under 20 for me, and those are scheduled either with whomever I need to come with and talk with and meet with. Otherwise, it's other consultants coming in. So I personally am probably right at 20.
Because when I look at the gross figure, and I understand, as a contractor, you're covering your insurance, your liability, and I get that, and I'm hearing how much the services are utilized of, a consultant in all these different areas. I'm going to be honest, my first thought is, do we need somebody full-time as a, in a position there? And I'm going to say, for $160,000 a year, we could probably find a really good person full-time in that area. I kind of would like to have a workshop on this, and I don't know if I'm the only one, because, when it was just looking at it as, hey, just somebody who's just doing, the code enforcement as you were brought into, and now with Ms. Stacy bringing up, all these other areas that you've assisted in, that's not reflected in the contract. And this is more of a time to renew your contract, not to sit here and go over everything. That's more of I think a workshop to discuss this, further. But part of me says, for that cost, we can have somebody full-time on staff. And from the sounds of it, from what I'm gathering, we need a full-time person to assist. Seems like there's things that have, I'm not going to say slipped through, but maybe haven't been taken care of because of prior situations and personnel, and just, I'm not going to blame COVID, because this was prior to, I'm just going to leave it that I think we might need a workshop on this.
And Commissioner, what you are getting with that, as I went over with Commissioner Sosa, you're getting basically everybody in my stable, so to speak. So if it's not my expertise, then I bring somebody in under me that's going to go ahead and do that. I know the deputy city manager is currently working with one of my consultants on an internal investigation. That is his expertise. I brought in the trainers for the classes. That is what they do. So it is certainly something that should be looked at, as to have somebody that is permanent, but that's part of the budgeting process. And
it could be that once we sit down and we hear exactly how the process works and everything that you're contributing, that it may be like $160,000 is a bargain. But when I look at it as, hey, just to oversee code enforcement, doesn't sound too appealing to me. But what does sound appealing to me, and that's why I'm thinking a workshop would be a good thing, so it can be totally outlined. Because what's here and what we're being told are two totally different beasts. And I just want to make sure that I have a total understanding.
And I'm in agreement with Mr. Peters' transparency, and I
think you've done a great
feel you'll
job.
find it as a bargain.
Yeah, so far what I've seen and heard, I would agree that just from what I've seen and heard, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vilazquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two questions here that I have for you, Mr. O'Grady, but just so I can understand the Vice Mayor's request to have a workshop. You're saying that he was hired just for code enforcement, and that's what the contract originally stated.
And I
But
believe
according-
other items as deemed appropriate by the acting city manager.
But according to what we're hearing now, he's doing more than what he was hired for under the original contract. And is that what you're saying, that you want all those other items added to the contract? Because I really don't understand what you're requesting.
I think she wants a clarification on exactly what Mr. O'Grady is doing, and I think, am I correct, Vice Mayor? A clarification on what his company does and who he's bringing in and so forth, right?
And do we need to look at this as a full-time position? Because if you look at what 162,000, look at the information we received the other day on what acting city managers are getting paid. That's up here at a city manager's level of pay. This is at one of your highest pay grades. So this needs to be looked at on what is the responsibilities, what is his main function and responsibility, what is the goal. And I know when I originally voted to have him come here, it was we wanted to change that reputation of code enforcement. And it's great, and I appreciate you helping them, but again, these are things that we're now being saying, oh, when he's doing this over here and he's doing this over here. So if he's doing this here and this here and this here, you know what that's doing? That's pulling away from that code enforcement, what we brought him into, and that reputation and that cleaning up. So, it just brings a lot of questions to my head, is if I've got him for 32 hours at the most a week, but yet now I'm taking him from here where we said we needed the most help, but he's over here helping, he's over here helping, he's over here helping. We need to talk about that.
Commissioner, did you?
I don't know. But I have a question for you, Mr. O'Grady. Were you able to fill the opening positions with that job fair that we had?
I am
Or
not
did you
sure.
get in?
Yes, Mr. Paradise has said yes.
Can you tell me how many? Do you remember?
We had 8 positions. Are they 3?
3 positions. So how many opens did we have? Do you know?
So that leaves us with 4 openings? Yeah.
4 openings. Okay. And the other thing I just want to make a comment about is, and because you're up here already, so I might as well bring it up. We've had a lot of evictions, as you know. And lately, when you drive around, at least in my district, all I see is furniture out in front of different homes, and rentals. It looks horrible, and I know that we're probably still short-staffed, but going back to code enforcement, I think that we need to increase, going back to your responsibilities for code enforcement, increase the tours around, at least in my district, I'm speaking for my district, of having these furnitures being picked up. So we have a policy that says that your garbage is supposed to be put out a certain number of hours before your pickup date. But if you drive around on Fridays, my district, you get garbage is picked up on Tuesdays. You drive around Friday, you have a pile of furniture in the front. So we have people driving around Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday looking at that pile of furniture. So if we can please increase the tours around the neighborhoods and check well.
I believe the acting city manager is working on that right now with Waste Pro.
Yes, I spoke to our deputy city manager about it, but for the record, I just wanted to comment it with you.
Absolutely, yes. We see that issue continuing out there, and the rental agreement so far out that Mr. Peters is currently working on it with Waste Pro, that they will get a phone call and they will respond immediately to take care of that.
So can I ask you, with the increase of staff, do you think we'll be able to pick up on these violations or issues that we're facing?
Yes, so when the complaint comes in, you'll have more staff to respond out, to look at it, assess it, and deal with it, either making that phone call, if it's as you're saying, or if it's a code violation, they'll be able to get to it a lot sooner. And as a legal advisor was just saying, it's been years since they have addressed foreclosures, hoarders, et cetera. Just they have a couple new personnel that's allowed them to expand a little bit more and attack these areas, that the blight areas, Deltona Boulevard, and things of that sort, that they can finally focus on and go back to what they need to be doing.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Kifalo and then Commissioner Ramos.
Yeah, if I could just address Vice Mayor Bradford's comments. So if you take a look at Exhibit A of the new contract, it actually does point out some of those extra areas. So Mr. O'Grady's services have expanded while he was here, obviously seeing what he was able to help us accomplish, and that's kind of what led to those additional items. So if you take a look at those 4 things, it actually does encompass some of the things that I pointed out regarding fire department, Parks and Rec, and code compliance. Okay. In addition, I understand what you're saying in terms of can we hire just one person, but Mr. O'Grady's able to actually pull from other areas of expertise. So like the fire department, one of the consultants that he has is a soon-to-be retired chief, correct? So, I mean, it wouldn't be possible for us to hire all of those people on a full-time basis and even get them. I mean, they're working very part-time hours, so he is able to bring in that kind of expertise that we need, kind of as needed on demand.
Madam Mayor, may I respond? So I guess where my concern is not that he hasn't done a great job, is that, one, we're capped at 32 hours a week. And if he is going to be expanding to those areas, it's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we're robbing from code enforcement now to assist in these areas. And like you said, so yeah, if I bring a consultant in, that's going towards those 32 hours in a week. I don't know the best way to put it. So, I mean, the reason I don't want to hash it out here is because generally this is stuff we do in a workshop. But I just think having a better understanding, I mean, it could be that, when we sit here and we have a discussion, is it going to be, do you honestly feel 32 hours a week, now adding extra responsibilities to your description is adequate? Or are we still going to be able to keep the level of service here at that hour base? I mean, that's just, I think there's a lot of questions and what ifs, because I don't want code enforcement to go and fall back. You've put a lot of work into it, and if we're throwing more at you, but now we're taking hours away from that, honestly, that can be very concerning to me, because you've worked very hard to put it back up there, and I'm sorry, guys. So the 97's a little jump there. I don't know if that's negotiable, but so I guess that's my concern as well, is we have went through doing, each commissioner had a meeting, and we brought the residents in, and we've taken great strides. I just don't want to fall backwards again, because now we're pulling those resources and we're throwing somewhere else, and it's not going to get the service it needs. So I guess that's my biggest concern. Right. And it could be that we say 32 hours is not adequate.
So at first, yes, it took a 32-hour week, weekends, et cetera. Now that we've restructured code enforcement, where we're back to an assistant director. They're all under a director, building, planning, and code enforcement. So as the deputy city manager said before, they do have that cover overhead now, where they have that supervisor pushed down. I'm still monitoring it. I'm still, in contact with Richard Lovett, who's the new assistant director. And on our Shiprock issue, he and I have talked the last 5 days, every day, to include the weekend, on best practices, what my suggestions are, what he needs to run by Mr. Paradise to get done for that issue there. But I am still monitoring all of that. They just don't need me feet on the ground there anymore. We just need to not let them fly, but let Mr. Lovett put his best practices in, which is oversight with Mr. Paradise and myself.
So technically, if it wasn't for these other things being added, you would probably be at the minimum hours a week, if not less.
I don't understand.
This is why I think a workshop is really needed on this, because we do have a time schedule that we're allowed to do this on, and there's a lot of questions because. Yeah, I think we need a workshop on this. I just do, and I'm sorry, because that brings to my mind then, so if these guys are maintaining and we're pulling you over here, I don't.
Commissioner Ramos, and then I'd like to speak. Then we have Commissioner McCool and Commissioner King, but Commissioner Ramos, you've been on the board.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Vice Mayor, I think you bring some valid points, and Stacy, you jumped ahead and you answered some of those questions that I think if we start thinking about hiring someone that might not bring all these connections that he has, it might even cost us more, because that individual is going to have to hire out to bring someone in. That's one thing. And I think the other thing, at the end of the day, if there's something that we're not liking in reference to how much time is being consumed of him in whatever projects, then I think we have that right to speak to our city manager and express those concerns, and maybe shifting that attention. because honestly, it's great to hear that, yes, there's been inconsistency throughout code enforcement, and it's going to take a while. Whether he dedicates only 32 hours to that, it's going to take a while to turn that ship. So I think he is bringing expertise and he's paying for it. And at the same time, I think at any point in time, any one of us can sit with the city manager and say, hey, you know, we feel that this is lacking and we need them to refocus into this. But I think, you know, some of these projects, working with HR, fingerprint, and background, not only is it going to help staff, it's going to help our volunteers. We have a challenge in fulfilling our volunteers' coaching, because they have to take time off to go to Daytona Beach. So it's just the simple things that I think that the fact of the accreditation of Parks and Rec, Fire Department, code compliance. I hear you, but I think if we start trying to find an individual that can bring everything that he's bringing, it might even cost us more. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So I've listened to all of this for a while, and everyone makes very valid points. So we hired Mr. O'Grady to address code enforcement and basically that department and everything that falls under that department, dealing with trash, dealing with animals, dealing with rental ordinances, dealing with move-outs, dealing with code compliance. It is the bane of everyone's existence on this dais, for the most part. It has been mine for 10 years. 10 long years. And I am here to say that we are in the process, in not only code compliance and a lot of other departments, of restructuring this entire organization. In some way, shape, and form, in almost every department, there is a complete restructuring of this organization. By the organization, I mean the city of Deltona. We all have the same issues come up in different variations from different residents and different internal issues. And now we are working on a restructuring. In the city of Deltona, for many, many years, rules were traditions without consequences. There were ordinances, there were resolutions, there were rules. But traditionally, we did this. And traditionally, we did that. And it didn't follow the rules, and it didn't follow the ordinances. I had a picture of a code enforcement situation from 5 years ago. I took that picture to Mr. Peters and I said, is this a violation? And Mr. Peters said, absolutely, it's a violation. I said, well, for the last 5 years, it's not been a violation because previously, traditionally, we didn't cite for that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, are what we are dealing with. In the past, we've always done it that way. Right? For the most part. Especially when it comes to code compliance, depending on who was in charge, depending who was on the road, depending on that. That can't be the way anymore. And now we've brought in a consultant that has access to multiple different groups and agencies and other people that have outside eyes. Not anymore, this is how we used to do it when we were a little town. It doesn't work anymore. We're almost 100,000 people. You can't treat one organization or one individual this way and then treat somebody else the other way. It doesn't work that way. Whether it's someone in our parks, whether it's someone in our code compliance, whether it's permitting and allowing an excessive shed because, you know, that's what we did. And then somebody else comes up and goes, no, you can't have that. It doesn't work that way anymore. And that is what this gentleman, along with Mr. Peters and now Stacy and other senior staff members, are really trying to work on. Look at Joe Hearn. Look at him. He's a consultant. What has he brought to the center? Amazing things, because he has access to a lot of different agencies, contacts, people. He brings them together and he makes it work. And that is what we are trying to achieve with Mr. O'Grady. In my opinion, just my opinion. Is it going to please everyone? No. Is every issue going to be resolved to all of our ability? Absolutely not. And you talk about hiring someone in that position. Until you change the traditions and make them rules and use our ordinances and resolutions and have consequences, it doesn't matter who you put in that seat. You have to change the mindset of what's gone on here for so long. And we're now a city of 100,000 people. We're not a little town anymore where everybody knew everybody. It doesn't work that way anymore. We have to level up the professionalism in every single department, especially code enforcement, compliance, whatever, and permitting and building, because those are our biggest issues. And accreditation, if you want to talk about not having someone like him that's a consultant that has access, you can, and we all know the wheels of government trickle slowly, can go ahead and put every one of those things out to bid and tack on another 3, 4, 5 months until you pick somebody to do that job for you. He has the ability to do that because we all want it done now. So that, in my opinion, and in my view, is what we have hired this man for. Is every situation to my liking? No. To your liking, yours? No, 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 no. But the majority of what he is doing is trying to take us from a tradition, we always did it that way mentality, to professionalism in every single department. So I'm going to pass the gavel to you, Vice Mayor. I think you have one. And I am going to make a motion. I move to approve a letter contract with John O'Grady to assist with code compliance training, accreditations, contract negotiations, and other assignment as requested. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
And I would like to add on to that, and city attorney, or do we just get consensus afterwards, to have some sort of a workshop, as the vice mayor requested, to discuss our views and what Mr. O'Grady is working on and so forth. How would that proceed?
I don't think you need to put it in the agreement.
Consensus afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
And I apologize, I'm not going to be the mayor now, but I made a motion, there was a second, but there are 2 more people on the board,
Yes,
Vice Mayor.
ma'am. So I have a motion by Mayor Hirschberg and a second by Commissioner Vilazquez. We have 2 speakers. Commissioner McCool.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I want to say that for me, because my constituents always ask why I vote the way that I do, and so explanation is that in the world of consultancy, my job is like that also, but I get paid for what I know. And sometimes that's hard to quantify that in relationship to what I do, but I get paid for what I know. And I spent a lot of years, a lot of legwork, a lot of investing my own money and time in order to build my business. And I did that. This doesn't take into account all of the 20-hour days I worked while gathering the knowledge that I have to be a consultant. So for me, that's where my line of thinking is and a consultancy has to take care of their own HR issues. So I'm just putting that out there. And as far as being able to, what I, as a consultant, can and the other consultants that I've seen, such as Joe and such as Mr. O'Grady, is that repetition builds proficiency. And that's, for me, I have done my job a lot of times. And so when I'm indexing knowledge to use in practical applications, it's because I've done it time and time again. Practice makes perfect. It's not cliche. It's for a reason. And so when we're talking about him seemingly able to do something in a short amount of time, usually that means that somebody has built years and years and years. So we're not talking about that we're not talking about all the time that he spent doing the grunt work, all of the years that he did for a shorter or lower dollar amount to get to where he is. So I am in agreement that it needs to be discussed because the residents deserve that, to understand why we spend money the way that we do on quality, because I'm about paying for quality and paying for it one time as opposed to trying to fix something that is, broken several times, right? So that's where my thinking is. Listen, I'm going to consider this a win if we get rid of the shiprock issues. I'm going to tell you something right now. I dream about that crap in the middle of the night in my sleep. I see those videos over and over and over again, and it's this myth of Sisyphus. That's what we're doing right now, and I think that if we can figure that out, that that might be the holy grail of figuring out everything else that's wrong with that situation, if we can get that figured out. So, I just want to say to my constituents that you get what you pay for, that I prefer quality over quantity, and that we must remember that because somebody's put in the time and they've put in all their years cultivating the professionalism, the knowledge, and the bank of other consultants, because I have consultants that I use, and I've spent years cultivating those relationships. So there's more to it than Mr. O'Grady coming in and making whatever this is per hour. There are those things, the historical factors that we need to think about in any relationship with any consultant that we bring in. That's continuing education. It's a teachable moment. It's not, people that know their worth are valuable, period. So thank you.
Commissioner King.
How much longer do we want to go on this one?
How much time?
Mr. O'Grady, it seems like to me we're talking about a couple different things here and everybody's like crazy over them. One thing that we're talking about is how many hours that you spend. It says in this contract 32 hours, not to exceed 32 hours. Are you exceeding 32 hours now? You just said a few minutes ago that was 9 to how many hours?
I'm not exceeding 32. The question came from the commissioner personally. What am I doing? And I'm doing from 10 to 20.
From 10 to 20. Do the other, let's take the high end, 20. Do the other 12 hours count for the people that you bring in to do some other expertise?
Yes.
Okay. So in the end, those people are working, you bring in 3 more people, they work 4 hours, that's 12 hours, and it's all?
Yes, that would be it.
Okay. But if they work 5 hours?
If they work 5 hours, I take 1 less hour that I'm in. I try to, it's a juggling, it's a schedule logistics issue. So I go back to the training that Commissioner Sosa and I were talking about. I brought, Mr. Kirkpatrick in for 4 days. They were 12-hour days. I was nowhere around for 2 weeks because that's the contract. I mean, can I get more? And bring in more hours, yes. But right now, I keep looking over for Mr. Peters, but Mr. Peters has a system he wants to roll out, take small bites at change is hard. So we're just doing the little things there, and that's where we are right now.
Okay. So in my mind, I'm hiring you.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, I thought I was hiring you, but I really wasn't hiring you because the other issues that we're talking about that we've expanded to bring in your company.
Correct.
Which wasn't in the picture the first time. In the first contract, it was you and you alone. And now it's not. It's a company of people. I'm not opposed to a company of people because I believe that, one man can't ever do it all. You can be good at some things and you're good at managing the people that you have under you. I get that. So I understand that. But I want to be clear on who I'm hiring and what that person brings to the table. Because originally it was you bringing your expertise in code compliance now to the table. And it's way more than that. I think that's great that you have more expertise. I'm glad that we're able to, that the city's able to tap into that. But we have to talk about, okay, on the money side, going up $30 an hour is, listen, I wish I could make $30 an hour or more in a year. And I bet there's a lot of people in this city that think they would like to do that too. But I understand Commissioner McCool's comments.
And to talk about the other consultants that I brought in, Mr. Peters put a process in place. When I bring a consultant in to do, let's say, the training, or one that's doing the investigations or is going to help with the fire department, they're vetted. So the deputy city manager, Mr. Peters, meets these people. The risk manager, before the training went on, she met them, looked them over, vetted them. As Commissioner McCool said, I'm bringing the expertise to the table to get ahead and get some things done within the city that need to be done. And training's number one on my list. But as you said, I cannot do the active shooter training, the customer service training. I got to bring in the people that are good at it, that do it every day, and they are vetted. Just to let you know that I'm just not pulling people off. They're being vetted by the city operations people before they're put in place. A code compliance analyst that we're looking at. This is, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to get off on this. Part of the issue with code compliance and animal control is they have no process internally in the computer. People make a public records request. We can't pull up how many cats or how many dogs were rescued last week. So I've gone out and I've acquired the services of a person that's going to come in, that's been vetted by the director and the assistant director, and she comes in. She worked in a TNR program for 20 years. She's a crime analyst with a law enforcement agency, so she knows everything there is in the computer, not only Excel spreadsheets, but heat maps, everything that's going to help code with. It was mentioned earlier about the sweeps. She's going to put all those processes in place just for a 3-month time frame. And then we're going to sit back down with the director and say, okay, now who do you want her to train? Because she's going to go back to her other job. But we have the processes in place. So I'm going to take this another step. Compared to bringing in a brand new employee from somewhere else in the city that has to learn all that on the run while they're running. That's tough to do, to throw somebody right into the battle that doesn't have that training or expertise. So that's another thing I bring to the table. I'm bringing this person in. They're going to train everybody. And then they're going to make sure they're good, and then they're going to leave, and if there has to be retraining, right away we have that number to bring that person back. So I'm sorry to get off on that, but that's one of the things that is integral to bring to the table here.
Okay, I just, and I understand that, I do. I would hope that when we sit down to talk, that we understand that you are the umbrella and we want to know everything that's underneath it, which we haven't known until seeing this contract. I mean, every time I've had anything to say with Mr. Peters, you're doing this, but you're not really doing it. You're directing it, and somebody else is doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But I would like to know that.
Right.
So I think that is a conversation that we need to have. So I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, we have no more speakers. We do have a motion. Let me please call vote.
Miss Elizabeth, I think I need help with my tablet.
He got nothing.
I got.
Oh, my eyes are killing me. Done? It's magic.
Has everybody voted? Okay, so the motion passes 6-1. And then I believe we are also with a census that, do we all have a census up here that we'd like to have a workshop on this matter? Yes? Okay. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to hand the gavel back to our wonderful mayor.
Thank you very much. City Commission special reports and requests. Commissioners, any special reports and requests this week? If no one has any, I do. Commissioner King has always been active with Wreaths Across America. Last year, we, the city of Deltona, the mayor and commission approved a $1,000 donation last year for Wreaths Across America. And I would like to bring this forward to the commission, see if there's interest in doing that again for Wreaths Across America. City Attorney, do you need a vote on that? Is a consensus enough?
It's not an advertised item, so.
It wasn't last year either.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay. Well, then I think that, in general, was this in the budget or it's not? I mean, I just don't know anything about it.
It was done last year at the spur of the moment. Commissioner Novick at the time made the motion last time to correct Commissioner King.
Okay, great. Then, I think a consensus is adequate if everybody has that.
Okay, Liz, would you call for consensus on doing the same as last year for Wreaths Across America for the $1,000 donation?
Commissioner Vilazquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Commissioner McCool?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Harrisburg?
Absolutely. So Commissioner King? And then at budget time this coming year, I think that in order to not do this again this way, we need to see if we can put a line item, if the commission agrees for a line item in the budget, make that part of the budget process. City Attorney, any comments?
No, ma'am.
Deputy City Manager.
I just wanted to report that we did have a job fair on September 30th, and it was, I think, successful. It sounds like we're actually going to get some good candidates to fill open positions for the city. And we're also looking at the possibility of a future job fair to include other employers in Deltona. I think the focus for the first round is going to be healthcare providers at this point. Also did want to point out, I didn't speak while the firefighters were giving their presentation, but regarding the training facility, just to remind everyone that the MOU for transports did provide for money to go specifically for the training facility. So you just keep that in mind when you're evaluating the process. But certainly Mr. Peters will be reporting back to you on the finances and the plan for moving forward with such a facility. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Ramos, you want to start us off tonight? Commissioner McCool.
Absolutely, thank you. Very briefly and importantly, Stacy, thank you for the good job tonight. You are doing a fantastic job with our city. You have been so great in listening and recommending, and so I want to give you a resounding welcome because you are doing an excellent job. Thank you very much. Second of all, I would like to address comments from a resident earlier, specifically Mr. Williams, regarding what he felt was a slight towards his service at the Affordable Housing Committee, and wanted to tell you that your contributions to this city have been invaluable, and it was my vote when I voted to place someone else on the Affordable Housing Committee, is that you've certainly been a mentor in this town, and your service is appreciated as far as the SHIP program, your involvement with the SHIP program goes, and there are others stepping up to the plate, really wanting to add service and learn. And so that was part of my reason for voting to place someone else in that position. And also so that there was absolutely, in our new age of transparency and accountability in the city, there was no question about your involvement with the SHIP program and then being on the Affordable Housing Committee also. And I went over that in detail with the city manager. So it was absolutely not a slight on your service to our city, your very valuable service to our city, your involvement with the city and everything that you do. And if you ever felt anything less than valued, I would certainly feel awful about that. So I wanted to let you know that and know that publicly why that was done. If you would like to speak more about it, I believe that you know that I'm always available to talk to. So I wanted to just kind of put that out in the public and answer that question because you certainly deserve that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have. Okay, thank you. Commissioner King?
First of all, thank you so much on behalf of Reese Across America. We are working very hard this year to cover 2,000 veterans' graves at Deltona Memorial Gardens. So thank you for your donation. And having said that, here on the dais and back on the back table, you will find a personal form that you can pick up. One is to donate for a wreath or two, $15 a piece. 2 wreaths gets us 3. So think about that and maybe donate out of your own pocket, like I am. And the other thing is, there's a small flyer there, that one. This is a really cool announcement. This is the first year that I'll try to get this right, the Reese Across America Mobile Educational Unit will be coming to our area on October the 13th, which is a Wednesday. They will be in the shopping plaza behind Applebee's and in front of Woody's Barbecue. They will be open there from 10 to 6 in the evening, and I'm inviting everybody to come out, and if you got kids or Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, youth groups, bring them out during the day if you can. They go through the mobile unit. There's a video. They tell you about the history of Reese Across America, how they got started, and what they're doing today, and what we're all about, and why we put wreaths on these graves every year. So please come out and take advantage of that. This is the first time it's ever been in our area. It travels the country all year long. Thank you to our commissioners that have donated already. I appreciate that. And that's all I got, except for one little thing, if I can just spoof you guys. Tonight was, first hour was doing what? Doing proclamations. I love proclamations. I love sitting up here and watching you all read them for the most part. But I have my own little proclamation tonight. So I want to make a proclamation. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Just for fun. Whereas the city of Deltona, Florida presents fill-in-the-blank proclamations at every commission meeting because you never know how many there will be. And whereas the city of Deltona will write a proclamation for any really good reason at all, and whereas it doesn't matter whether you live or it doesn't matter where you live or who you are, ask for a proclamation, your wish will be granted. And whereas the city of Deltona staff will type one up in a jiffy and present it to the commission, and whereas it won't matter if it's a request for Halloween in July or Christmas in June, and whereas just call, email, or come visit our or request will be granted. Your request will be granted. And now, therefore, we, the mayor and commission of the city of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim today and any day as Proclamation Day. Executed this and any day, October 4th, 2021. Hey, we had a lot of proclamations tonight. That was really good.
That's good. Thank you for your proclamation, sir. Who are you going to hand that off to?
I'm sorry?
Who are you going to hand that off to?
Oh, I don't know. Anyone that'll take it, really.
Thank you, Commissioner King.
Possible.
Commissioner Sosa? Commissioner Vilazquez?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have an announcement. I was asked to share this invitation by our local Sons and Daughters of Italy. They want to extend an invitation on, wait, forgot the date, hold on a second, October 13. They'll be celebrating Italian Heritage Month, and you're welcome to attend their pasta night. It starts at 4:30. And then around 6:30, they go into really nice dancing. It's over here on Doyle Road in Deltona. I think it's $7. Don't quote me on that. But please, because of the pandemic, they had a little downwards, just like everybody else. So we're trying to build it back up. So don't cook on Wednesday, the 13th. Come over to Sons and Daughters of Italy and join us for pasta. And by the way, we'll be taking a proclamation for them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
No, I'm going to be quiet tonight.
And I felt, Vice Mayor, the motion you made was like the longest one you had to read for that one item, instead of all the ones to make your
I know, I was
voice.
going to say, Ron, next time can we dumb it down a little bit? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing this evening. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.